Inside at last.
Welcome, fellow Teffers, to Inside at Last, the one and only thief-dedicated podcast. My name is Captain Chit-Chat Alex, and today I'm joined by my two early birds, Professor Speedrun Psychosis. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
And, of course, Fanboy Smith. Next.
Hey guys.
And today we have a very special guest again. We're very grateful to have you here. Welcome, Klatremus. Klatremus.
Yeah, thanks. One of those works. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to introduce yourself with the name as well, but I forgot. my name would have been for you like Mr. Slow Pace or whatever. Take your time. I don't know. So you are
how
here
about
today.
Keeper K?
Keeper K.
That works.
Keeper K. All right.
Yeah. So Klatremus. So you took your time today and a lot of it. So we will have a lot of time. So please introduce yourself, who you are, maybe where you live, and what's the main reason, the focus why you are here today.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Håvard in English, or Håvald. I'm Norwegian born. Currently live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been living here for 13 years now. Almost 13 years. Yeah, I'm just a regular guy, regular dude, really. A family man, and love Thief. Really, don't play video games at all besides Thief, and a couple of other family-friendly games. But Thief has been my sole game since the early 2000s, I guess. And I like to, like you said, take my time through the missions, as some of you who've seen my videos know. So yeah, I guess that's why I'm here. I'm just a player like anybody else, but I have a kind of a unique way of playing. So that's, I guess, why you guys invited me.
Obviously, that is. I think during this episode, we will sometimes come to like a comparison between what you do, Supreme Ghosting. We will come to that later, and of course, maybe compare it to the speedrunning thing and my original playstyle, as I want to call it. But please explain to everyone who's not familiar with it, what is your playstyle, what defines it, and what's so special about it?
Okay, that's a big question.
Oh, maybe we can go.
No. I can go ahead. No, I mean the gist of it is most players who have played Thief for a few years know that even on expert level, it's not challenging enough, really. Most missions aren't. So a rule set was developed, I believe, in 2000. I think it was late 2000 it was officially released. And it was simply coined ghosting, or the ghost mode. And it's just an extra rule set that increases the difficulty of the game, where you will then claim to either have ghosted the mission or not ghosted the mission, and then you can decide yourself on how detailed you want to be and what made you not be able to ghost it. And then a couple of years later, I think in 2002 or so, an additional rule set called Supreme Ghosting was released that sort of piggybacked on the initial rule set and added a few rules. And that's the rule set that I adhere to mostly. But we'll get to the rules later on, but they overlap so that all the rules for ghosting is also included in Supreme Ghosting. There's just more rules added. So to me, that is the most fun way of playing, but it's also the most tedious and longest way of playing the missions.
Yeah, I think the definition of fun is very, very individual.
Yeah, no, it is. Satisfactory, I think, is a better word to use than always fun.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's actually a great thing, that a game actually this old is so great in diversity of playing it. that we always compare our playing style. Look at Nex. He found a total individual playing style, and so yours. But yours, I think yours is like maybe the master category of playing Thief.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Supreme ghosting is certainly the most difficult. You can always add extra rules so that would make it more difficult. But I think it's in terms of ghosting, it's the most difficult one. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we go deeper into that, let's come to the basic. What was your first experience with Thief? How did you get it? When did you get it? And why do you love it?
So I'm one of the old guys, I guess. I'm almost 40, and I played Thief. I actually think I played the Thief demo before the game was released in 1998.
Beffert's Manor.
Yeah, I remember that. There's an Assassin demo too, isn't there? I didn't play that.
I don't know. I just played Beffert's Manor back in the days when I was 11.
Yeah, okay. So I played it in 98, a little bit of the demo, and then when the game was released, I got a copy of a friend of mine. Yes, it's a pirated copy I got. But don't worry, I've bought several copies of it later. But I played that in 98, and I don't think I played farther than the Mines of Cragscleft. I think I got
second mission.
Yeah, the second mission of the main game, and I remember I couldn't figure out how to kill the zombies, and I for some reason just put it aside. I put the game aside. I recognized right away that it was very intriguing. But I was 18 years old at the time, and we were playing fast-paced, instant gratification 3D shooters. This was the time of Doom, Doom 2, Duke Nukem, Half-Life had just been released.
Quake
was a big one, yeah. And we actually had, at that time, we had LAN parties where we hauled our big desktop computer with the huge monitors to our friend's house, connected 6 to 8 computers, and played deathmatch of different shooter games. And
after spending 5 hours on getting the network.
Yeah, well, yeah. we for every time we did it, we spent less and less time getting the network going. So we rented a facility one time with I don't know, 15, 20 people. So when you don't have the luxury of spending 2 hours on one mission for Thief when you have those kind of games around you. So that was probably the reason, and also I wasn't patient and mature enough at that time to appreciate Thief. So I think I picked it up again a couple of years later when I moved away and started in college. I had more time by myself, and I tried playing it a little bit again, and then I really got into it. And I played. Then I had picked up a copy of Thief Gold, which had been released in '99.
Mm-hmm.
So I played that all the way through, and I absolutely loved it. No ghosting though. I just played it normal. And I think I played a little bit of Thief 2 as well. I bought a copy of Thief 2, but I was pretty disappointed actually the first time I played it, so I didn't finish it.
Hell yeah!
Right.
Yeah,
hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Speak it.
Thief 2 has grown on me a lot though since then. So that was my initial reaction. But I think also I was distracted by the fact that I found fan missions.
Right.
So I actually played a lot of fan missions before I even finished Thief 2. I played fan missions for Thief 2 and Thief 1. I would say 2001, 2002, something like that. And then I went back to Thief 2 and finished Thief 2, but I finished it rather quickly. I didn't find all the loot and everything. I just wanted to get through the story, so I was aware of the story.
Yeah. While you're saying all this, I'm sitting here with a huge smile because this is total nostalgia for me, as you said it, like in 1998. I think we are the only ones here in this circle at the moment that played it when it was really released at first time. Yeah, great stuff. But what got you? Why did you love Thief Good morning, Alex. Why did you love Thief so much?
Well, like I said initially, I liked it. I recognized the good things about it, but it didn't compete with the other games at the time. But I'm Thief Gold for me. There's many things, but I've always been a person who needs to have an atmosphere capture you to be able to appreciate something. It's the same thing in movies for me. For me to enjoy a movie, there's got to be a good score. There's got to be a good mood developed by the movie for me to appreciate it. And I think that's what caught my attention mostly about Thief. And I remember actually when I finally played Crackslift all the way through, going through the mines and going up into the prison and just being in this claustrophobic enclosed environment and having the sounds of the prison guards and the inmates and all that in the distance reverberating the hallways. I don't think I've ever felt like I was a person in a video game more than I have with Thief. I actually felt like I was Garrett, and I've never felt that with any other. I never felt I was the Marine in Doom or Gordon Freeman in Half-Life or anything like that. But I've always identified almost myself with Garrett playing the missions.
Well said.
So if that makes sense, I'm.
That totally makes sense. I think Thief back in the days, like over 20 years now. I think there was no game with such a thick atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think we all agree on that. So, anything you guys want to ask, Professor and Fanboy?
Since you mentioned Half-Life, for me it was the same thing. Nothing came close, but I'd say a couple of games came close to the immersion that Thief provided, and like Half-Life was one of them.
Yeah, I can agree. Story-wise, it came close. The story in Half-Life is it was groundbreaking when it came to absolutely incredible.
Especially that it was told inside the game engine.
Yeah,
that's the part that did it for me.
Yeah, no cutscenes. It just goes straight through the story with you playing the character. I even think Half-Life story is better than Half-Life 2, to be honest with you. But that's a personal opinion. But the story is good in Thief Gold. It's not perfect, but it's good. But the immersion for me is incredible. And I do, as you guys probably know, I do. I said it earlier, so I do like Thief Gold better than Thief 2, but mostly, I mean, the immersion is the same in the two games, because you use the same engine and all, but the level design, I think, is incredible in Thief Gold.
Yeah, I just watched your videos on the Baffert Manor just like 5 hours ago, and you said that there, and this is something I wanted to discuss with you. Why? Can you maybe explain it more in detail why the Thief 1 level design is better to you than?
Well, I've actually had a hard time putting it in words, but you guys mentioned in one of the first podcasts that in Thief 2 the mission maps were made first before the story.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And if that's the case, I didn't know that. And if that's the case, that totally makes sense, because that's what it seems like when you think about it in retrospect. It seems like Thief 2 it's just been the makers have gotten feedback from Thief 1 about probably most people not appreciating all the different weird mystical environment that you visited. So they wanted to make Thief 2 very realistic and in a realistic setting, and they thought about all these different
robots.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I guess the robots isn't too realistic, but all the locations, I mean, is very grounded.
Yeah.
So they thought about different locations that they wanted to create, and then they have shoehorned the story into all those locations. That totally makes sense. And I actually think that limits the game a lot, because you are. I mean, if you think about the level design in Thief 2, all the missions are very flat, except for Life of the Party, which is the best mission in the game by far.
Right.
All the missions are on street level, and there are very few tall buildings. In Thief Gold, you are, or in Thief 1, the Dark Project, you are surrounded by huge tall buildings that makes the missions feel very three-dimensional. In Thief 2, it's very 2D. So you feel like you are in more control because you can see everything that's going on, but that also makes it less intimidating. If that makes sense.
No. Yes. Of course, there's. It's always a thing of taste. For me, as we know, I love Thief 2 more, but maybe it's a reason because I was like 11 and then 13, and maybe then Thief 2 was more appealing. But I actually didn't like the surreal parts of the first game. That really, like you said, like when you first played the second mission, it was really like, oh, nah. I was scared and I didn't like it. It was not appealing to me. And then Thief 2 came out, and of course they put like the demo was Life of the Party, which was of course the best showcase to promote Thief 2. But I think for me it was just the surreal parts. And as you said in your video in Beffert's Manor, you mentioned that you liked the surreal parts better than not the surreal parts. So tell me why. Why do you like the surreal stuff so much?
Well, I don't think I said that, so I have to defend it now, right?
Intimidating. Yeah,
But,
and
yeah.
good cop, bad cop.
You didn't tell me that you were going to go back and watch my videos and scrutinize them.
I wasn't planning that until
Just
5
kidding.
hours ago.
No, I do like like Thief Gold a lot better than Thief 2, and Thief Gold has surreal parts in it. So then I would necessarily like that better, but I don't like it because of the mystical elements of it. I like it because of the unpredictability of the setting.
Okay.
When you head down into the Bone Horde, you have no idea what you're gonna meet.
Yeah.
When you head into Truard's mansion, it's going to be rooms with hallways with guards. There's going to be bedrooms. There's going to be a living room. There's going to be just multiple floors, a balcony. You know all that already. So it feels like you have a leg up on the people there, and it feels less intimidating. When you're heading into an area that is completely new, like ruins or underground cave systems, then
Constantine's house.
Exactly, and that happens to be my favorite game or favorite mission in Thief Gold.
That's actually, I think, this mission is when you have like on YouTube a top 10 of the most creative levels of all time or whatever. That's very often part of that, that was amazing and very creative level design. But I think they had to go for it back at that time. But then they realized, okay, it's not so much appealing to many people, and we want to make this second game, or we have to make it successful. And but for me it was actually working better. But it's an interesting point of view, like and I never thought of the 2D, what you said, 2D level design. But you're pretty right in most parts.
I've been thinking for 5 minutes now, and no, that's not. She's wrong, and I'm thinking out through every mission that is in Thief 2,
it's
and
like
he's right.
Yeah. But and of course, like Thief 2 has those, because we discussed them already in our original missions episodes. The like in between missions that are not so much fun. And I can agree with that, but still, Thief 2 is more my thing. It's more appealing to the eye, in my opinion.
I mean, I do like the different curious places that you can get in Thief 1. but usually it's just sometimes for me it's like too much. Like Bone Horde. If there was a cave in the cemetery that goes into a trap-filled place, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, like when you go to hell later,
Right. Like
it's like, oh no, that's too much. You know, they literally throw everything at you. Then you're going down, and they come up to you, and
No, and I agree. I mean, the last two missions are the worst missions in the game.
I think, but you can say that for both. I think the last mission of Thief 2 is like overdoing it as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, I disagree with you. I actually think that's one of the better missions in the game.
Yeah, because you have to take your time and. No, I don't like it. I was just revisiting it some weeks ago, and it was like, no. Where is my guidebook I had back in the days? It was really pretty.
and the cycle back, like I honestly agree with Klatremus that I just prefer Thief 1, and for my reasons, because I look at games like a challenge, and I think Thief 1 has more challenge in it because there's a lot more enemy variety and how you have to deal with them. The undead, like you have to use your holy water, fire arrows, and you have to risk, all the sound that those cause. Whereas in Thief 2, it's like human, knock him out. What is it? The robot, shoot it in the boiler hole. Like it's just, to me, Thief 2 is just too easy, and as a result of like the bland sort of like atmosphere that a lot of the levels kind of exude, I gave up on it the first time I was playing through it. Especially after Thief 1 like blew me away, and even though the ending was a little lackluster in Thief 1,
but that's very interesting, because for me the more down to earth style of Thief 2 is way better for my narrative. No, really, because for me it feels I can identify better with it, because it's more logical. It's like the latest Batman movies, the not the
here we go
universe, but the Christopher Nolan Batman movies.
Yeah.
They have been they explaining things in a logical way.
Like
They don't have to make sense in a real scientific way, but they are explained to me, and so it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And now I don't have a ghost or a strange I don't know what is the insect called, that
Crayman.
Yeah, and stuff like that. What should that be? Or those hammer shark headed things. That's stupid for me, and I was afraid. And now they have like, okay, there's a robot, and they make it logical how it works. He has those repeating lines, so obviously there's maybe like a Victrola thing in him, and he has this boiler, and yeah, it's like it makes kind of sense.
Do you guys think that it's the blandness of Thief 2 that called for extra rule sets like ghosting?
I don't know. That's a good point. I wasn't around when, or I wasn't around on the forums. Obviously, I was around, but not on the forums when those rule sets were developed. I found them afterwards. So I don't know the reasoning why. I mean, I'm sure there was a call for extra added challenge, but I'm not sure if it was because of Thief 2.
I believe my theory is it might have been like inspired by casing the joint, because I believe if I remember correctly, the objective is like don't get spotted or make any noise.
Ah, okay, yeah. Maybe.
So I mean, I don't know if that like kind of inspired players to then kind of like be like, hey, let's make every mission like casing the joint. Or if that, or if the developers saw people were already doing that, like, and then just incorporated it into the game.
I think that the people were spending too much time with Thief. They didn't have any girlfriends, so they had the time to play it that way. That's my logical theory.
Well, you were 11, so
yeah,
when you started playing it,
I started dating at that time.
I was 4 when it came out. How does it make you
why
guys
did
feel?
You play it that on your Fisher Price computer?
My gateway.
Fisher Price computer line. Nice one. I like that one.
I don't know, VTech. that's the basics. And now
Before we move on, can I just ask one question?
no.
No? Oh, okay.
No, do it, please.
What's your favorite mission in each game?
Ah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so the sword for sure in the Dark Project or
choice.
Gold.
We don't want to rate his answers here.
I do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
the 9 out of 10 answer. Yes, great. Go on.
The sword is just an incredible display of the mission authors just using their imagination and, like you said earlier, taking risks, taking chances, just going for it, and making whatever comes to mind. And especially since you enter the mission or the mansion where it looks like a normal mansion. The only hint you have to this being a weird place is the briefing, where Garrett says that you can make a madhouse or whatever he says. But then when you get into it, you find everything, space, garden, and then in Thief Gold they added the whole Little Big World, which maybe goes a little bit beyond, crosses the line. But I don't know. And the sounds, the sound design in that mission is incredible with the high-pitched laughter. I guess that's supposed to be Victoria, right? Laughing in the background.
I assume, yeah.
Yeah, I assume it is.
I think that's Joaquin Phoenix.
Sure. I didn't see that movie, so.
What? Do it.
Yeah.
Best movie ever.
It's a good movie, yeah.
Yeah, and in Thief 2, it's Life of the Party. And you guys have alluded to this before, that, and as I said before, Thief 2 have grown on me, so I definitely think it's better today than I thought when I played it the first time. But when Thief 2 is good, it's very good, but when it's bad, it's absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, that's what we all said. I think and I don't know which mission it was. Mission 5 or something.
Tracing the Courier is just absolutely awful, and Casing the Joint to me as well is horrible, especially when you have masks right afterwards.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like Trail of Blood. I actually think, since that varies up the setting, actually it isn't that bad. The story is kind of silly in that one, but it's a nice setting.
My only issue is it's really linear.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very linear, and that's why Life of the Party is. That's why Life of the Party is so good, because it's not linear, and neither is the sword. So,
but I think that Thief 1 has some linear stuff as well. Like where you have to follow the guys to Ramirez, and then the last mission, of course, which is very linear.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I think in that part, they're not so far away from each other.
And actually, I don't appreciate Assassins as much as many do, and neither do I the Maw of Chaos.
I think they needed those linear missions sometimes, because otherwise they couldn't make sure that a player maybe sees what they want him to see for the story.
Oh yeah, certainly. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't exactly say Assassins were linear, but they were basic in other ways.
It was linear at the start, but that only lasts 4 minutes.
I mean, like every time you have to follow somebody, it's linear. But
I know the time. Yeah, it takes 4 minutes 30 seconds.
Of course you do.
And then you can spend upwards of an hour plus in the mansion.
But I think Klatremus would say that this takes 2 hours 30 minutes.
Well, no, because then you have to follow them and stay within a certain distance. So then otherwise you fail the mission. So then you can't do that much slower.
It was just joking. I'm just here to moderate, to cut, and to publish that. I'm just here, Captain Chit Chat. That's who I am.
I don't know. I don't know your sense of humor fully yet, so I'll pick up on it over the next couple.
My sense of humor. I had a discussion with Nex about it. My sense of humor is pretty dark and stupid.
It's good.
What was my?
I love it.
Yeah. What was my I don't make that Poland joke. No, it's but let's not talk about it. Let's talk about you and your supreme ghosting. So, but back to the question about maybe because of Thief 2 was too easy for many players, they started making their own rules. I think that's a good point, and I think that might be true, because if someone gets bored, you make up something. Like, imagine like back in the day when you were maybe playing Nintendo 64 and maybe you couldn't get more stars in Super Mario, and then you still were running around in the castle and making up for stuff, and maybe in Thief it was the same.
Yeah, possibly.
Players always want a challenge,
But
right?
maybe the forums can give. Yeah. So let's go on. Next, maybe you can go on, because you are the supreme ghosting fan here, I think. And
All right.
maybe
Definitely,
you
yeah.
can start with your shit.
So, you've told us that you've started playing Thief 1 and you played it normally, by which I feel like you mean you used that black stick that we have. What's the name?
Blackjack.
Oh, yeah, the blackjack. So, how did your play style develop through time? When did ghosting come into play? Who inspired it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my memory is a little bit foggy on every detail, but I remember I played Keeper of the Prophecies. I don't know if any of you have played that fan mission. Yeah. It's a campaign now, but it was released as a single mission. I called the Enterprise first, a standalone release, and I played that mission. And just a few weeks later, I read a ghost report, which is just a written report then about how you can ghost a mission or how you can't. I can't remember who wrote the report, but I read a little bit about how you could take some arrows off an archer without getting spotted by him, and then another archer you could not take. And that got me interested, and I went back and I replayed the mission, and I tried doing that. And I realized that the report was correct, that you could take the arrows from the one archer, but not the other one. And that, I guess, made me appreciate how valuable the report was. How if the forum or the community could keep a record of the reports, then other people could look up how you could ghost or not ghost the mission and maybe try to improve on that. So I played that mission trying to improve on the report, and I couldn't. So that made me respect the person who had reported it, and obviously the ghost mode itself. And then after reading that report, I read the rules. I didn't read the rule set yet. I just read what he had reported. And then I actually realized that the rule set was very complete, that all the different rules captured most of the essential parts of being a ghost, being a master thief. And I didn't play any other fan missions after that. I went right back to Thief Gold, and I started playing Thief Gold from Baffords all the way through the Maw with the ghost rules.
Amazing.
And I think I don't think I even got through Baffords before I found the Supreme Ghost rules. So this was in 2002. And I restarted, and I decided to write a full walkthrough with the Supreme Ghost style in mind, where I made a Supreme Ghost report then for each mission. And that started back in 2002, and I didn't finish until years later because I played other fan missions in between. But it was because of that one report that I read. So whoever wrote that report, thank you, because I probably would have found it else, somewhere else. But
this reminds me of a certain time when I stumbled across Klatremus.org.
Oh, okay.
And found the report. So you were the guy for me.
I changed.
I also
the
found out
a couple of years ago. So before it wasn't Klatremus.org. So that can't have been too long ago.
Why do you always say ORG? Because this always sounds like orgy, and this is the first time I get it. What you always mean when you
What was the name before Klatremus?
Oh, it was actually a part of my dad's website, because he started a website in the early 2000s, and he gave me a part of his domain name, So it was his last or our last name and his initials and AJ Nilsson.no and then some. Yeah, I can't even remember it. It was that complicated. So I'm
like
happy that I switched it.
So the website was like all of his stuff, and then like
Yeah.
you had like your little corner of
And
like
then I had a
probably
folder.
completely
I had a
unrelated.
Yeah,
You
I
know
had a
that
folder in that.
he could just say it's my house. He could even say it's my page. You know, as long as you put your stuff under my page.
No, but I had a banner with an ad for his. He had a photo website, so I had an ad for his photo website on my page, and that was the compromise.
Is it still existing?
Do I have that on it still? I don't know. Let me see.
But his page, is it still existing?
His pages, yeah, I do have it. Yeah,
Maybe you can send a link later so we can put it in the description.
And you changed it at the time. And when you changed to your Klatremus.org,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to
Thanks.
think about it. It was at that point that the site was off for like at least a week.
No. I changed. I changed the server
domain?
that it was sitting.
On the server.
No, I didn't change. I changed the domain probably about 5 or 6 years ago to Klatremus.org. But then I had to change because my subscription ran out and I didn't want to pay a full price. So I had to go to a different company to sign up with their new deal, because when you're a new member, you always get a deal. And then I had to change the server, and that caused it to be down for a month or so, I think, or maybe a few weeks.
I remember the month.
Yeah. So
I was afraid at that point that you just didn't want to keep it up anymore. And
I gave up.
gonna be
Yeah.
lost.
No. You've watched my videos, Next. You know I don't give up that easily.
Oh yeah, but
Oh,
I remember writing to you at that point. I mean, where's the site? Are you gonna?
That's right. When
re-upload
you
it?
say that, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And then it was up again, and everything was sunshine again.
You might actually have nudged me in the right direction to make sure that I got it back up and running quickly.
Oh,
so
thank
we had
God.
contact back in the days. Cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure when you said that it must have been, because I'm thinking it has to be more than 5-6 years when I found out about the ghosting, but it can't be like more than 10 years. I'm certain of that. So I'm pretty sure I was on your website before you got the correct name that you
Okay.
have now.
Probably. Probably.
But I do remember a couple of sites at that time. Some of them are not because I remember this one site where you had specific instructions on how to install Thief 2 before, well, they fixed it like we do now, and you had to do some kind of tricks. And I'm thinking that wasn't your site, but it was similar because it had more stuff on it. And yeah, a couple of sites I wish I could remember and get them back.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of valuable stuff that have gotten lost due to people haven't kept up their domains and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but your playing style, the Supreme ghosting, what is so fun about it for you? Why do you like it so much? What's the real reason why? What enjoyment you take out of it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because just to put it in perspective, like for me, when I watched your videos, after a while I really got stuck into it. Like it's really absorbing. But at first it was always like, I don't want to watch this guy reloading all the time. Like for me, like reloading is sometimes necessary because you try out things, but the way you play it, you know what you're doing, and then you always have to go back to remember in what order the things you put back in their specific place are arranged and stuff like that. At first it could seem like a lot of work, more work than fun.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's so appealing to you?
Yeah. Why do I ghost? Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well-
Why?
Well, I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of dog owners? Right. You maybe heard the fact that many times the owner looks like the dog. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
sometimes.
because the preferences of the owner shines through on the dog. You know, what they like to wear, they like to make the dog look the same way. And this might seem like a strange
I'm
analogy,
really
but-
interested where this is
Yeah.
going.
So I think that the personality of the player affects the style that you're playing. So I'm a perfectionist in every way. It's horrible. So I cannot feel satisfied with a mission until I have done absolutely everything I possibly can in that mission. And that is playing it at the absolute most difficult, most excruciating, most challenging method that I possibly can, and have
So-
found absolutely everything in every single corner and taken as much as I can. And the Supreme rule set is the most ultimate challenge. And I know it so well now that by now it's just second nature.
So you like to torture yourself in a bit.
Yes, basically.
But
So
it's an
could-
interesting point because
mental torture. Yeah.
I wonder what it says about my my character, the way I play it, and I really wonder what it says about Nex.
Well, what way do you play it, Supreme?
So I think
So
we
you know what? Before you answer that question, the first time I saw your your name, Supremcee,
yeah.
I got really excited because I thought, oh, here's a Supreme Ghoster. He has made his name
Total
based
disappointment.
on the mode. Yeah, and I got so disappointed. No, I didn't get disappointed, but when I
had the
realized
name. I had the name way before I even realized there's a Supreme Ghosting thing. So yeah,
But
I think we had
he has a quiver for his blackjacks.
yeah. No, but I really wonder what it says about my character because I play. I think that's why I always say like the original play style. I think I play it the way they first intended. You know, you go around,
then
you have your blackjack.
I'm guessing you're then a very relaxed person, and you are, you do things the easier way and all that stuff.
No, actually
No?
not because when I look
Okay.
at my life, no, totally not. But
Then-
maybe playing is like the thing where I don't want to have that. You know, maybe this is like my escapism. So I don't. I have to function in reality, and who's putting things in the chat? Okay. So in reality, I have to work. I have to function. I have to put things in order, and things have to work, and I have responsibilities. And when I play, I don't want the same. I want to get distracted. I want to do things. Yeah, maybe easily. I can't do in real life. Maybe
That
sometimes
makes
I want
sense.
to
That
knock
makes
out
sense.
everybody.
Yeah,
like
that
I'm
makes
working. I'm working with children. And sometimes, I want my blackjack, but not possible. But for you, this really, as you said, this really describes your character. Like, okay, you are. Is it a perfectionist? Is that a word in English?
yeah.
Perfectionist,
and-
completionist.
So, do you have this like if you look at something and something's out of place that this annoys you?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, like maybe
borderline
yeah, right. Like
OCD kind of, obsessive compulsion.
yeah, right.
Yeah, not as bad as some people, but yeah. In Thief, I think I have it more than I have it in regular life, but yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's why returning everything. We'll get to the rules later, but returning everything to the original location, stuff like that, I'm pretty, particular about returning crates to their proper location exactly like they were and stuff like that. And that's not something that I need to do, but I just need to feel comfortable.
I just imagine like maybe you said you have a family, so I'm just imagining like maybe your wife was making cupcakes and she said I leave for town now and don't eat the cupcakes. And you're stealing one of them and then you're eating them and then you totally panic because you can't put it back in its place. And maybe at home it's the same, like sometimes she gets like suspicious, like is it the right place I put it at first?
That's a good point. My wife is actually worse than me when it comes to those kind of things. So if she ever played Thief, she would be much more particular about returning things than I would.
Really?
Yeah. So you can
Your
imagine our
poor
house.
child. Like perfectionist parents. Oh my God, yeah. I couldn't imagine like if my parents would have been that way because I'm totally not. But yeah, but it's a very interesting point of view. Next, but actually, really, what? Now it's the time for me to tell the story.
Sure.
Next actually pays Psychosis, so Psychosis glitches through things. He can't. And that's not a story I make up.
So yeah, no. Okay, so
Explain that over again.
Yeah,
I didn't understand that.
the other day, he was playing, I believe it was Heist Society.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, is there any way to go through this window so I can get to the ending quicker?" And
Well,
he was like,
it was like that, but I was a little bit more agitated because I just spent an hour and a half trying to get through that window.
Yeah,
Couldn't.
so like I'm now his whipping boy, sort of, to like explain, to get him through to the end of missions quicker, so that he can complete the mission and feel, I guess, better about his
But High Society has a history with me. Whenever I found a really good mission, but just couldn't fit it in with my play style, like High Society. Well, I didn't play it as much at that time, and a couple of tricks I didn't find out. And missions like that, it was such a waste because they were so close to completely satisfying me. And I started editing them in Droom and making entrances where they weren't before, just so I can do it. But it kind of.
You did that?
That's like sacrilege.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
I have
depends.
a folder full of modified missions, and then another folder of instructions what I should change in those missions. But that was kind of dividing me because and then I would I wanted to share what I found out in the missions whenever I found something out, and it was always fun to watch other players do the missions, and once I started doing that, I was completely isolating myself. I couldn't really share that because and at that point I was like, my play style started to change in a way that I would say I don't really. I mean, I don't have to put the rule of not knocking out NPCs just for the sake of the rule, right? I can knock out things and do things that maybe the rule set wouldn't allow me, but I guess I'll go to that later on when we talk about how we feel about rule sets. But yeah, and I've always had a problem with High Society. I'll finish it up. And it was the west part of the mansion. I just couldn't get there, and I always knew that it just that window. If I could just get through that window, everything would be daisies. And now it is, and it was the best purchase I've made in years.
So now there's two things I wonder about your psychologically order at the moment. Like first, the way you let people play the things for you and you pay them, and then you talk much about it.
I ain't complaining.
So, no. I know. No, but I really like the aspect of like the why people play it on the way they do. That's, I think, it's a really interesting point that we maybe should come back at a different episode. But that's a good thing. Yesterday, next, we had a discussion because we were comparing speedrunning and supreme ghosting. And then we had that little discussion about what is more skill-based. And we first came to the conclusion that, of course, speedrunning is a very, very skill-based playing style. Clearly. And supreme ghosting is more like,
knowledge.
Trial and error.
slope, knowledge based. But then I said, like, yeah, but knowledge also is a skill. What you do in speedrunning is like execution of all the knowledge you have.
Right.
And making it to perfection, like put it in that really tight space and just do what's necessary. But supreme ghosting is the other way around. You do so much that's not actually necessary or asked from you from the game. But then I watched your videos again before I went to bed. And then I was like, no, this is pretty skill-based, but it's just different. What would you say, Klatremus? What is it? Do you think it's a skill-based, or is it more just knowledge-based and trial and error, or what is your thought about it?
Well, and I mean, knowledge certainly is a skill.
Yeah.
When you compare supreme ghosting to speedrunning, speedrunning is a lot more. I mean, the execution of it is a lot more,
Intense.
yeah, but it's hand-eye coordination, right?
Right.
It has to be frame perfect. Maybe I imagine some of the things you're doing, and supreme ghosting is a lot more mental, like thinking, patience, trying things enough time and actually believing that it can work. And then when it finally does work, you're very satisfied, but it's grueling up to the time that it doesn't, as long as it doesn't work. But I can imagine that's comparable to speedrunning too, because I'm sure that behind one successful speedrun, there are 1,000 attempts that is not successful. Comparing those two isn't that far-fetched, but I would say that they're both very skill-based, but just for very different reasons.
I mean, I would say that there are certain sections where the same skill comes into play, because wherever you have to, like, just for example, the taking of the portrait in Black Frog.
Oh wow, yeah, that's quite a move. Yeah,
you have to
Can you
either
explain
it's
that, please?
Oh
Well,
man, that is crazy.
So the way Klatremus plays is that you can. One of the rules is you cannot turn off security systems. You cannot.
Yeah.
You can open the gate. We're going to get to that later. But so what that entails is that he has to time the camera turning around correctly, jump down to the painting, grab the painting, and then jump out into a dark area or skate across boxes. But that set of movements is, I mean, in theory, yeah, you know what you have to do. There's knowledge there, but you got to execute, and you don't have, the window is not big, and yeah, it is
Yeah.
like movements like that, definitely.
I'm
Still
happy
on
that
It
skill.
seems like a speedrun thing, you have to be perfect on, and the time is.
I remember
tight.
being really impressed with his return to the cathedral strategy for not getting I believe it was a second alert after grabbing the eye or something.
Yeah, and that I
Right.
actually just discovered right before that recording.
Yeah, where you had to shoot like a rope arrow into the side, and you had to grab it real quickly and then like get back on the rope.
Yeah,
Like I was actually like very impressed. I was like, yeah, that's something like that would take a little bit of like skill to actually like realize and kind of like actually execute in one go.
yeah, where you have to, because the eye is right by a big hammer statue, isn't it?
That's all metal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all metal, so you have to jump from the statue onto a pre-placed rope on the wall, but then in the jump you have to turn around and grab the eye in the air.
Yep.
So that there is a minimal amount of time between you taking the eye and you landing on the rope, because the rope is dark, but the area where you stand on the statue is not dark. So if you take the eye while you're there, all the undead wake up and they see you. So you have to minimize the time between the two. And I actually think when I did that back when I made my original Supreme report, I didn't do it. I just thought I did, because the way I did it now, there was no reaction from anybody that woke up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So I think
this
I
sounds
actually-
very adventurous.
Well, I haven't played that mission yet, but it makes me want to play that mission now.
You haven't
That
played
sounds
it.
amazing.
And Klatremus, maybe you will paycheck some while because he can execute it.
Yeah, but I'm happy you also mentioned the portrait, because that is, in your notes here, I saw that you were asking me for the craziest or most insane move in any mission, and that's one of them. It's probably in my top 5 moves that I've been able to do and develop, because nobody had. I ghosted those missions, the Black Frog, right after they were released in 2012. A couple
So that's
weeks
all
later. So that was nobody had ghosted that. Yeah, nobody had ghosted that mission before. So I had to do that all from scratch, and there's just so many variables to get that portrait without getting caught. And the fact that I was able to do it supreme clean is I was surprised that was even possible.
So when you prepare, do you like replay the thing until you got it to perfection and then you record it?
Oh,
or
yeah. For head of recordings, Supreme Ghosting takes so long that you have to prepare. That's probably why I have quite a bit of time between my uploads, because I mean I have a full-time job and I have a family too, so I don't have that much time to play Thief. But if it's a mission I've played before, I play through it just to sort of get the map in my head again, and then I Supreme Ghosted by myself without recording. And when I do that, I note down the order of the items that I want to take.
Yeah.
So that I can sort the items in a list and have that in front of me while I record, so that I don't have to think about where to go next when I record, because that's just going to take extra time.
Because I was wondering, and now I got my answer. Sorry, we can go on, but because I was thinking like, okay, he always remembers to explain things very detailed. I couldn't do that because I would have so many other things on my mind. I would always forget to explain things to the viewers. But now that you say like, okay, you have the list, so you are already, as you are, well organized, prepared, getting into this, so you don't get distracted by all the stuff that it's in your head behind, because you already have it written down.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is if there's a while between my preparation and my actual recording. Sometimes I don't have time to record it right away after preparing. So if a couple of weeks go by, then I might not remember all the details, and then I might stumble a little bit more, or have to check my notes, and it becomes less fluid, the recording. But so in some missions that might be the case.
Okay.
I don't want to fanboy too much, but it was. I realized that from your recordings that you have notes that you prepare, because you were always on point. And I think in one episode you actually mentioned the notes, and that's what got me into making notes as well. Because when I started playing like more seriously, keeping to the rules much more, I also found that playing the mission just to scout it, to explore it, and then actually doing it.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Actually doing it, in those rule sets, just doing it cleanly now. I always took a little break between, because if I took like a 2 week or at least a week between those plays, then that play wouldn't be so rushed. I'd enjoy it more. And do you do anything of similar?
Are you asking if I deliberately wait between preparing and recording?
Yeah.
Not always. No, because I don't have that much time to record. So when a couple hours pop up that I have the chance to record, then I'm going to have to take that chance if I prioritize it. So whether it's been 2 days or 2 weeks since, I'm going to end up recording. So I don't have any kind of set wait time there.
That's very interesting, because as you mentioned before, like even when we were in contact for the first time, like doing this episode some months ago, you explained that you don't have so much time. And I was already wondering there, like, okay, he doesn't have much time, but then he plays it with the most time-absorbing playstyle you can imagine, which is very interesting.
That's an oxymoron right there. Yeah.
Not really, because on the other hand, then I thought like maybe this is like really quality time spent, you know? Like that's really what you want to do. And that's why you take your precious time for doing that. And then I can imagine like the satisfaction you get out of it. Like, okay, I just have that couple of hours. I really want to spend them the way I want it, and you be perfect on that. That's
Yeah,
my imagination of you.
Yeah, but also my videos are not in one sitting usually.
Yeah.
So
of course.
I do try to put together the video. If it's in multiple parts, I try to put them together seamlessly, so it doesn't seem like it's more than one sitting. I just think that is a lot easier to view. When I see, if I see, that's why many of my videos are so long, but I don't split them up into parts. I know some people do that, but if I watch a video of one mission and it's split up into 3 or 4 parts, I feel like I'm not getting. There's no continuum between the different.
Right.
I don't know if I'm making sense. Does that make
No, you
sense?
are.
What I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It kind
I
of
just-
disrupts the flow. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So when I'm viewing something and I don't like that, I don't like to upload videos that are in the way that I don't like it. So I'm sure that some people can't stand seeing that there's, oh, here's another 6-hour video. I'm never going to watch that kind of thing. But I really upload them and make them the way that I would prefer watching them. So I guess some people appreciate it.
Yeah, about 600 something. 23.
Oh yeah,
I
for
guess.
for the subscribers. Yeah, I'm surprised that even that many would sit and watch 5-6 hours.
Yeah, I was looking at the numbers and I was like, why don't we have that high account of listeners for podcasts here? So what are we doing wrong? Are we talking too fast? What is it? Yeah, but yeah, it's a cool thing. For how many years your YouTube channel is running now?
2013, was that it when I started it? I think so.
Okay.
2013, 2014, something like that.
6 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but to shoehorn in a comment about you guys, I want to say that I really appreciate what you guys are doing, because you guys have opened a different, or started an avenue that nobody else in the community really has. So having a podcast to listen to, I wouldn't think that there would be many substantial ways of bettering the community, but this certainly has, I think. So this is a nice different thing
Oh,
too.
shucks.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell the story behind the podcast that I had the idea like years ago?
You did not.
We want to hear it.
Yeah, and you know the story next, I think. But I like years
Tell
ago.
it again. Tell it again.
Yeah. Okay. Grandpa is okay. Sit down, little boys.
Do you have one of your cups of tea that I can snuggle up here while I'm listening to?
Yeah, I have the tea and the chimney is burning, and so back in the days, boys. Now I was thinking about Thief podcast would be amazing, because when the podcast thing started, I was listening to like podcasts that are about old games, like they look at it like 20 years later or something. And of course, the one podcast I'm listening to, it's Stay Forever. It's like 2 former journalists from a magazine, and they were talking about Thief. And I was like, oh, guys, you're totally wrong. They're saying things like, that there can't be movable lights within the game engine, that they don't reflect on the wall and stuff like that. And I was listening to it like, no, that's totally wrong what you're saying. And, all those little details. And then I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a Thief podcast? And that idea was on my mind over years. And then I thought, no one will do that with me. I don't think that it will turn out good. And then I was coming home drunk one night, and I was listening to a podcast on my way home. And then I was like, you know what? A Thief podcast would be amazing, And then I was going drunk on the forums, like making that little Photoshop idea of my cover, and then I made the pitch on the forums. And like a week later, we recorded the first episode. Back with the Soth. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
Insta replies.
Yeah, that was pretty. And Klatremus, you were responding to it very early. Yeah, so it's like fanboys meets fanboys. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I remember that post that you made originally. I knew that I was never going to be able to have like a regular share in it, so
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for any kind of a regular thing. But I knew that I probably at one point would be able to make it. So I'm happy I'm here now.
Yeah,
I mean,
and maybe
I think the community would have killed us if we would have pulled you off your content creation.
and
Oh,
maybe
thanks.
you can come back. Maybe there's a fan mission you really want to talk about, and then we can cover it maybe later in like 10 years anniversary episode or whatever.
Sure, maybe.
Then when you're 50. And
Thanks for that one. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate that.
but enough of our podcast.
Maybe you could come back here, you know, in 10 years. Would you?
I have a
Yeah,
question.
can we make an appointment already? Like,
Sure, let's
because-
schedule it 10 years from now. Supreme is like, I know that I've had enough of this guy after a couple hours tonight. So 10 years from now, that sounds good. Yeah.
I can't handle that kind of humor. I'm really angry right now. No, that's cool. I think that's the reason Pura was leaving. Maybe he was coming into the episode like, I have 3 hours time now, and then we started talking to him, and it was like, yeah, I have 1 hour 15 maybe.
I know. That was an awesome episode, by the way. I'm so happy you guys got Pura in there. And I never thought that would be possible, but yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. We were happy with it as well. But I have to say something because I just found that out last week. I think when we were together talking after the podcast, recording Psychosis Next and Me, now I know why Pukey Brunster wasn't that happy, because she was the one who mentioned it in the poll. She was the one who mentioned like, hey, could you do the
Calandra's Legacy.
Calandra's Legacy?
yeah.
And now I understand. Of course, the way we executed the episode, that she wasn't that happy about it, and after weeks, it came like, now I get it. And then in the poll, because I was typing the person who suggested the mission, I was writing her name Punky Brunster. I'm so sorry for that, Pukey. It just came to me weeks later, so yeah.
I'm sure she forgives you.
I know, but still, like, wait, I wrote Punky Brunster.
It's gonna eat at you for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay because the poll is there forever.
Yeah, you
But
can't change it.
back to Klatremus. So, where were
I
we?
have a question.
I was distracted by your share. Yeah, you have a question. Great.
The last thing we were talking about before we went on the tangent was his YouTube channel that he's been
Yeah.
doing for a couple of years now. And obviously you've been doing Thief Gold because it's your favorite game of the trilogy. But
Yeah.
you also do fan missions, and one thing I wanted to know is like what makes you pick the certain fan missions that you're gonna do? Like why did you do, the Black Frog, or why are you doing Death's Cold Embrace right now?
Yeah. So when I started the channel, I mainly did missions that I felt would showcase Supreme ghosting. Because I didn't make the channel for the case of fan missions. I made it for the ghost mode alone. So I would never make a non-ghosting video. Some people have asked me to do Iron Man and other modes, but I wanted to showcase the ghost mode, mainly because I felt that the activity around ghost reports was dwindling and then dropping drastically. So I felt, what way could I possibly showcase this and make people want to try it? And that's when I actually should give a shout out to Travis Whitsitt. I don't know if anyone has seen his YouTube channel.
Oh yes.
He does many other games too, but he did a Let's Really Ghost Thief Gold and Thief 2 playlist in 2010-11 or something like that.
I think I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, and he used my website actually when he did Thief Gold, and I hadn't finished Thief 2 at that point on my Supreme Ghost run. So, but he used it for Thief Gold, and that's actually what triggered me to toy with the idea in my head of maybe making a YouTube channel. But the main reason was to try to showcase some fan missions. So I knew that I had a lot of fun ghosting Calendar's Cistern and Calendar's Legacy, those 4 missions. So that's why I started with those. And then right the year before I started my YouTube channel, the Black Frog had been released. So that was still fresh in my mind, and it was one of my favorite campaigns of all time. So I wanted to do that one as well. So I did that one next. And after that, it was I hadn't planned anything after that. I just, fed off the feedback I got, and picked a few missions here and there, a few missions that were released at that time. And then I got a lot of questions from people asking if I could do the original missions for Thief 1 and 2. So that's why I started that a few years ago, and just finished that. So, or Thief Gold anyway. Yeah.
What would interest me, like, as you said, like first you choose like missions that are good for ghosting or that showcase the ghosting style very good.
Yeah.
Isn't there maybe at one time the idea where you say, okay, but now I try like missions that are maybe not so great for ghosting, but I will do it?
Yes, and that's what I did last year when I played Ruins of Origenia, Mines of Margroth. I don't know if that does not have many views, so I'm not sure if many people have seen it, but that was the craziest mission I've ever ghosted, I gotta say.
So check that out, people.
Yeah, that's the longest mission. I had to split it up into 3 parts, and it's the longest recording I've ever done. I think it was close to 8 hours or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was a mission that I never ever thought would be possible to ghost. I didn't ghost it, but I was as close as you possibly can get. I had to break a window to get through, and that was inevitable. I couldn't avoid that, but I didn't bust ghost in any other place. So I had to think a little bit outside the box to get through some areas there. So if you want to see something crazy, take a look at that one. I mean, try to play it first. I always say that in my videos. Play the mission first before you watch my videos, because I don't want to spoil it. But some people don't.
I don't want to spend another $20 on Psychosis getting through
that
window.
I was thinking the same, but and before you were mentioning the Iron Ghost or Iron Man way, and Marble Man had a question, right? Psychosis, you
Yeah, Marble Man, who's a frequenter of the ghosting, I guess, thread and community, sort of, wanted to know, like, have you ever tried iron ghosting, which is, for the explanation, is just adhering to ghost rules but not reloading. And in his opinion, he says reloading seems to be a point of contention, and he also wants to know if you think it's like viable and enjoyable, like a iron ghosting, if it's viable.
Yeah. So there's actually discussion has resurfaced recently on the forums, hasn't it? Where some people were very adamant that you shouldn't be able to reload at all.
Right.
How can you claim a ghost if you are reloading?
It's kind of like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's kind of like with speedrunning, everyone gets so upset at us for loading a quick save if we mess up something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess for speedrunning, that complaint maybe would make more sense because you would waste so much time. So why would a record would never have a reload in there, right? But but I mean, loading and saving has never been in the ghost rules ever, for the simple reason that it would be impossible. It would be impossible. Yeah, not even just painful. It wouldn't be possible. And the missions that would be possible to ghost without reloading wouldn't be fun because they would be way too easy.
Right.
The mission would have to be so basic and so easy for you to be able to ghost it without reloading that there would be no fun in it at all.
But there is this style, so
yeah, I'm sure there is. That's definitely not for me. But but to answer the question that Marbleman posed, yes, I have tried iron ghosting. I tried it for Endless Rain. Some of you might have seen that video I uploaded a few years.
Or maybe you have heard the podcast episode.
Great mission by Skaki. One of the best missions of all time.
Yes, sir.
And going back to the previous point I made on Thief Gold versus Thief 2, I think Skaki actually shares my view there, but Endless Rain showcases then how wonderful Thief 1 was compared to Thief 2, where you have tall buildings, cityscape, where it's just as vertical as you possibly can get. That mission, I tried to Iron Ghost. I actually tried to Iron Perfect Thief it. Get all the loot without loading and ghosting it. Not Supreme Ghost, but regular Ghost. And I think I tried it probably 30 to 40 times. Something like that. And I got halfway through the mission. That was as far as I got. But it wasn't... I didn't fail because of some kind of bad play or something like that. It was just coincidence. It was just I slipped off an ledge here and fell to my death because it was so tall, the buildings.
Yeah.
Or I was just super unlucky with the patrols. Like 3 guys came right towards me at the same time, and I had nowhere to go. Or when you mantle, sometimes you make a huge clunk when you come up from the mantle. I don't know if you guys have ever frustrated you. So if there's metal there, so then I tried playing with the idea, well, maybe I should try to pick up a lot of items that are useful for Ghost, moss arrows and water arrows, but then you have to go find all of those, and you can fail doing that. So it was just impossible. But of course, Endless Rain is not a very easy mission to try to Iron Ghost, but I tried it. But I gave up and went back to regular ghosting.
Yeah. I mean, I think Iron Ghost has some benefits. I'm sure, because I did try it maybe once, twice. I tried to minimize load and save files. But it gives you that extra tension, that little bit more of immersion. Yeah. But because when it comes to patrols, I like that. I like that part, because whenever you're gonna come to a crowded area, you're gonna be like a real thief. Like, you're gonna be scouting. You're gonna try to get sense of it. How does the pattern repeat? And once you're certain of it, then you go and you execute it, and it's like I did it first try, prepared, and it's very satisfactory. But
I think if you fail once,
but what kills? I tried at that point to minimize, so maybe if I reload, but I didn't want to go into that mindset where you maybe get bored in 2.5 hours, and then you just go and you trial and error. Okay, I did get through, but it took nothing from me, right? But what I think kills Iron Ghosting is the fact that you mentioned the technical stuff, and it's just
if the engine was perfect, then Iron Ghosting would be much better.
Maybe that is something more for the dark mode, where I think the mantling is really amazing.
I haven't played the dark mod that much, but it's better for sure.
What complaints, Psycho?
The dark mod just feels too slow and like clunky to me.
Actually,
I've never
it feels
really
more
liked
realistic, I think. Like the approach is more realistic. Like the whole movement is slower.
For sure, yeah.
For me, I don't like the dark mode because knocking out guards is not that easy. Really, this kills it for me. This is the thing. I love the dark mode from its looks, and I'm really happy because when it came out, like first, there's even more fan missions, and then it was like, knocking out guards never works, it sucks.
Yeah.
So but that's a very, very interesting. But the iron thing, I don't know. I get the idea, but no. But just imagine like you get to the end and then you make one mistake, and then it's like 20 hours of the keepers training gone.
I think that's speedrunners' day in life.
Yeah, but they make some progress. That's.
I think Iron Ghost is definitely on a league of its own.
Yeah. But is there like a well-known Iron Thief player?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. Is there a community that actually does Iron Ghosting, like a group of Iron Ghosters? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So if we don't know, we don't know.
I think there is. I'm not completely sure, but when I found I was what's the phrase? I was entertaining the idea of iron ghosting because Iron Man was a playstyle I did in other games.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was thinking maybe this could be, and I do remember it being mentioned on the forums, and I immediately thought, I mean, if it's mentioned here, there must be a few people that just play without, maybe not iron ghosting, but they do Iron Man it, right?
Yeah, a content creator, Flow State Phoenix, does really cool Iron Man videos for like new fan missions and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I mean, because like I
What is
think
the
Iron Ghost
difference?
is a achievement.
Iron
you-
Man, if I remember correctly, you just don't load and save, but
Yeah.
like you play it
okay.
normally. I think you can knock people out.
Oh yeah. That's
Okay.
yeah.
It's just
But-
like not reloading.
But actually, of course, first it's like the engine, it's not perfect, and but on the other hand, I think that's something that is like the Thief thing, like trying out things, the trial and error thing. I think that's really part of the gameplay a bit. That you try different things, no matter what kind of what style you play. There's always some experimentation, and I think it's just part of that. I think like for iron ghosting, you would have to make so much preparation and then a perfect run, and I don't see it. But yeah, maybe the forums can help us finding the one man who does it, or woman. Sorry.
See, before we leave that topic, I actually think that for iron ghosting, the prep work was the most enjoyable, because I was thinking about for Iron Ghost, what would I need, and what route would I take to completely maximize the efficiency, because you don't want to go anywhere that you don't have to go. So that was actually more enjoyable than actually trying it, because you got but like you said, Nex, the immersion and realism is so much higher because you have to act like an actual thief. This is your one shot. You can't mess up here. But what I would like to see, if at all possible, would be people trying to Iron Ghost missions, and if they fail, just reload, like save as you go along, and then see who can reload the fewest amount of times.
Like a speedrun thing, but just the other way,
Right.
or on a
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, well, maybe not speedrunning, but ghost it and see.
But it's the same challenge, Like
Yeah. I was able to ghost it, only loading twice, and then somebody else would try to beat that, and then maybe eventually somebody will be able to do it without loading at all.
and then with a time as well, like who takes
Yeah.
the fewest time. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
the thing. So maybe we're creating a community.
Maybe like a league of where you see who is better at different missions, because then somebody would be better at some missions than other missions.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, Psycho, if you have speedrun all the missions, then you can start doing that.
Do you ghost, Psycho? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about it. No.
No, it's my issue with ghosting is I don't. Should I really get into this? I guess I should. I just
course
don't
you should.
get immersed in Thief as much as other people say they can, because
Okay.
I just think there's a lot of like fundamental gameplay issues that are just not believable.
Sure.
Like,
Oh,
like
yeah, let's
being
come to that.
being crouched in like the darkness, a guy can walk into you and not notice you.
Yeah.
One thing that's always bugged me ever since someone pointed it out is like say you're in a hallway and there's a light at one end and a light at other, and then darkness in the middle. Even though you're in that darkness, you should still be seen with your silhouette. And like anytime I see like a situation like that, it actually just it sucks me out of the game, and I can't like.
Yeah.
It's already in
but
the keeper's training. I always think that. Like,
Yeah.
when you pass the guy
Yes,
in the shadows,
exactly.
and then you look back at him, and then you see his silhouette, and it's like, yeah, he should have seen me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there I have one question. Because is it for the immersion for you, or more just the challenge?
For me,
Yeah. Because then I have a follow-up question to that.
it's both. It's both, because to be a master thief, I would want to follow rules that would make it seem like what a thief would actually do, but it also increases the challenge. So I don't think it's one or the other. It's both.
Because when I watch your, let's ignore the quick save and quick load thing, because that's actually something unrealistic. But there's like so many compromises. So first one, I had the issue with where you are going. Yeah, I stay with the Baffert thing because that was the one I really watched. I can later explain why I don't watch as much of your stuff, why I can't do it. But so you want to go into the well. So you steal the key from the guard, open the door to the well house.
Yeah.
And then you put the key back under his feet.
Yeah.
And before that, you stop. You block the door and you lock it again.
You lock block it, yeah.
Yeah, lock blocking. So but then, like from the realism point of view, it's like you can't close a locked door. If you lock the door when it's open, you can't close it actually, and
Sure you can.
So, not in real life.
No, tumbler locks. You can do that. You can lock the door from the inside when the door is open, and then close it and it remains locked.
In the mid-age,
no, we have our front door actually has that lock.
Yeah, but you are not living in 1547 or 1020, whatever. You get what I mean? Like if you
no, I get the point. I mean, even on the door, you can see the handle go down and up when it locks. So
yeah,
the locking mechanism would be too simple to actually do that. No, I get it. I get it.
So and then the guard, oh, my key must have fallen off while standing here, and that's like maybe I'm too picky with that, but of course I think my point of view is pretty easy to follow. That okay, you want to make it like as immersive and realistic as possible, but then you do those things and they are like, it's not really realistic. So where's the point? Is there like you make it up for yourself, or and I'm just taking you as an example, like I'm talking for every Ghost player. What is your answer? What is your defense to that?
No, I actually go back to a little bit of what Psycho said, that there is gameplay issues that breaks immersion anyway.
Yes.
Whether you Ghost or not. So there are maybe a few more that break the immersion when you Ghost, like stuff like what you just mentioned. There's many more than that. And I actually, when I started Ghosting, I didn't agree with all the rules. I actually started playing with my own rule set.
Which was?
Well, I wanted to pick up everything, not just loot. I felt it was completely pointless for a thief to go through a mission and like ignore expensive weapons and invisibility potions. I mean, those things cost, was it 500?
Yes.
I mean, 600. Yeah. Why would you leave that behind? Because in case you need one, you have to go and buy it at the store. When you see it right there, why not pick it up?
You're right.
So I actually made my own rule set where it included getting everything. Including all keys, all readables, because the information might be important for later missions. You never know. Plus, you are removing equipment from wherever you are. If you're in, Ramirez's house, you don't want him to have access to all that equipment. You want to have it. So I didn't agree with all those rules, but I realized that when I played with my own rule set, there was nobody to share it with. I couldn't. Nobody identified with it because nobody had the same rule set that I did.
There's no community for the Klatremus style.
Exactly. So I actually called it Norwegian Thief. Of course. But so I realized that I had to compromise. I had to accept, if I wanted to Ghost and I wanted to share and be a part of the community, I had to accept the rule set that had been made. So I actually spent some time sort of convincing myself that the rules that are in the actual Ghost rules are the best ones and the most inclusive rules that you need.
Okay, speaking of the rules, maybe next you can go for your discussion about the rules, because I think, first of all, I think we should link the rule set in the forums to this episode, so everyone can read it for themselves, because there's a lot, and we won't go through every individual rule. But next, you pointed some rules out in our notes, so go on with that. I think it's a good point.
So let's quickly go through it. As Supreme said, we're not gonna do everything. We're just gonna quickly outline the rules that we have. So we have 3 sets of rules, at least on the official Ghost rules, and we have the Ghost mode, the strict Ghost mode, and the Supreme Ghost mode. And I'm just gonna read
Or maybe in general, you can just compare those to each other, Klatremus. Like, what is the difference between Ghost? What was the other Ghost?
Strict Ghost, and then
Ghost
Supreme.
Supreme Ghost.
Yeah.
Since they all share from each other, maybe outline the most important Ghost mode rules.
You want me to just run through it and like separate them in an easy way?
Yeah, just an easy way, and then we detail
elevator pitch. Yeah.
So Ghost mode is basically completing the mission, not being seen, not being heard, not dealing any damage, and not taking any damage.
So not even first alerts.
No, first alerts are allowed.
Okay.
You cannot trigger any enemy to hunt mode. It's called. That's when they actually move around.
Yeah.
And look for you. You can take damage, but it's frowned upon, so you should try to avoid it. Most other things are allowed, so you're allowed to douse torches, to use moss arrows. You can use potions, but things like invisibility potions are also frowned upon, but they're allowed. So it's pretty much only not being seen or heard, not dealing damage. So you can't knock anybody out, obviously, and kill anybody.
No property damage, I believe, is another one.
The other one is no property damage, which is
so
actually very
no physical contact, and no eyesight contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the Ghost mode, and the Supreme Ghost mode has all those rules, but it also adds no first alerts, so nobody can even comment on thinking that they've seen you.
Cool.
And you can also not douse any torches, or turn off any lights, whether you use a water arrow or not. You cannot use any moss arrows.
You can?
No, you cannot.
You can use, it says here, like, the use of moss, water, and other arrows is allowed for other purposes, such as to hit a switch or complete a puzzle element.
Yeah, that has been amended later. So that is allowed for those purposes, but not the traditional use of moss arrows. You can't use that on marble to run across a marbled floor.
Yes.
Yeah. You cannot trigger any traps on Supreme Ghost mode, and you have to return everything that you have moved. So any keys you've taken, you got to return. Any doors that you've opened, you got to close or relock if possible.
Yeah.
Except for objectives. I mean, those you have to carry with you.
That's one question with the traps. Like, sometimes the trap is just in the storyline, so I think they are allowed as well, right?
If the trap is already running when you get there, it's allowed, but if you trigger it, if Garrett does something that triggers a trap, that is not allowed.
But one question, like, there is one fan mission. Of course, as always, and I don't remember the name, but you go into a certain area where you want to pick up like a statue or something, and you get into there and you pick it, and then an event is triggered where you get locked into this room, and then the guy who owns the place, he talks to you, haha, I got you trapped, blah, 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 blah. So this is like a story-driven trap. And it's
Home Sweet Home by
progress
by Lady.
I haven't
Maybe.
played that one.
But this scenario, this would be allowed, right? Because it's necessary for the progress in the story.
If the response that the enemy makes is scripted,
Yeah, it's scripted.
then it's different. It's not triggered as a trap, and that's when it gets kind of technical. So that I wouldn't include that in the main rules. There are always going to be special cases where you have to discuss it, maybe with the mission author or whatnot.
And I believe like killing enemies is only allowed again if it's like an objective. Because I think I remember correctly in Return when you have to kill the 8 haunts. Yeah, that's allowed.
Because the way I understand it is that if the thing that is in the rules not allowed but is necessary to do to make progress, for the story, that you can't finish the mission without doing stuff like that, then it's allowed or not.
No. That is not allowed. It's only, but both for the Ghost mode and Supreme Ghost, it's only what is explicitly instructed in the objectives that allows you to break a rule.
Okay, so but what would you do now in what the scenario I just described?
So say to complete an objective, that would be allowed. But if you have to alert a guard in order to get to the haunts, that is not allowed because it's not explicitly said in the rules for you to alert the guard.
So the objective is to steal the object, and stealing the object triggers a trap. And there's no way to avoid it.
Yes.
Like undercover, I guess, right? In a way, like undercover. When you take the talismans, the alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in undercover, that's a very special case. It was agreed upon by consensus in the forums that would be allowed because it was a direct result of taking the objective, and it was a necessary part of the story in the mission, where everybody alerts, the entire ground alerts. That's a little bit different than, for example, if you have to steal an item and the room before the item is guarded by a guy that is, in bright light and there's no way to get rid of the light. You have to gas him or knock him out. That wouldn't be allowed.
No, but what I just described is like you grab the thing and then the room closes a shutter and then a triggered event, a scripted event is happening. So,
yes.
The whole thing is like in the narrative of the story of the mission. It's necessary to do that. You can't avoid, because otherwise, if you don't steal it and don't want to trigger the trap, then you don't make progress in the story.
Yeah, so in those cases, you wouldn't assume that it's excused. You would usually open it up to the forums and ask people, and then if there's a general consensus that that's okay, then it would be allowed.
But if they say no, it's not allowed, what would you do then?
You would say it's not Supreme Ghostable.
Yeah. It's not ghostable or Supreme Ghostable.
Okay.
You would just report it and say that I did this and this is a bust, so I was not able to ghost it.
So okay.
You wouldn't stop playing.
You're enlightening me now.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
You would play the whole mission, and then afterwards in a written. That's why the written reports that I mentioned earlier are so important. That you can compare your run to other people's run. The report doesn't have to be long. I sometimes make them a little bit too long, but you can make just a quick list of what you couldn't do. And if you did everything, then you can just say that I successfully ghosted the whole thing. That's all you really need to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's very interesting. So I thought like everything that is meant to happen outside the rules is an exception,
No.
Oh. Cool.
Not necessarily. Sometimes it is, but not always.
Nerds.
So the last rule set you mentioned there was strict ghost mode, and that is basically exactly the same as ghost mode, but there's no exceptions. Even the objectives explicitly stating it isn't allowed to do.
Which is how it was at the beginning, if I stand correct.
I think that was the original mode, yes. Strict ghost mode was the original concept.
So ghost mode in general is soft ghost mode. or
yeah,
adapted.
It's
ghost
the
Yeah.
mode.
easiest of the three, I would say.
Yeah, ghost mode
Yeah.
is the easiest because you can be allowed to break it if the objectives say so.
And
Okay.
first alerts are allowed, which
You
is
know,
way
Yeah.
easier.
There are people in this world that want to make things so much more complicated than they are.
Okay, so let's go back to the Supreme rule
Yeah.
set, which is the one that you use mostly.
Yeah.
A couple of things I'd like to highlight as well is highest difficulty level, which is true for ghosting as well.
Yes.
Another thing would be also that you have to complete the mission without leaving any incomplete objectives.
Yeah.
is-
That's big for Supreme. Yeah.
Yeah, which is something that puzzles me because not completing an objective, an optional objective, is not okay. But you can, however, pass it if it's such an objective that you don't get at the start, but you get it by reading some readable, and that's how you can avoid it.
You can skip reading the readable, yeah, because then it doesn't pop up on your list. Yeah.
Mm,
That was implemented mostly because there are some objectives that are so hidden that you might not know about them. So for people that try to ghost that don't even know that there is an objective there, you shouldn't penalize them for not knowing about the objective and then later on say, hey, you missed this objective and you didn't do that. You should be busted.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So one of the rules also is no exploitation of the dark engine.
Yeah, that's a
And-
vague one. Mhm.
Yeah. And this is this question might be just the case. So one of the other rules is also no taking any fall damage. And we all know that, you can jump or land in certain ways, especially on slanted surfaces or edges, where
Yep.
your momentum is going to be transformed into like horizontal momentum, and you're not
Yeah.
going to take any damage.
Mhm.
Would that be considered a bust or engine quirk, or
No, that would not
so
be.
that would be allowed? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something. I mean, the definition of what is an engine exploitation and what is not is very difficult sometimes. But that would be something that the makers of the game would be aware of, right? That would be something that the mission creators back in Looking Glass would know about. They certainly would have tested that you can fall from a distance and land at a slope and not take damage.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they had, at least. So
All
it's when we're exploiting something that is not intended, or maybe not even tested, that you're getting into the area where it's not allowed for Supreme, and it is allowed for Ghost, but only as a last resort.
I see.
Right, because if I remember correctly, is Haunted Cathedral in Thief 1 the only not even ghostable mission, if I remember correctly?
It
Because
is
of the fire
ghostable.
arrow?
It is ghostable, but I haven't been able to ghost it.
Because, I found a way, and I'm not trying to flex here, but I have found a way to clip through the giant metal door at the end.
And
Bef-
I thought about asking you that
Yes.
before this podcast.
And without
It's
a
20
clang.
bucks.
Without a clang.
$20. Wow. I don't know if I have that.
And
Okay.
you
So
can
how do
get
you do
through
that?
without making a noise? You jump into the corner, so the door is kind of on a little ledge, and if you jump and mantle on it, it's only doable on New Dark with new mantle on.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go into the corner of the door and you look down with the sword, block, and then lean and jump, you can get halfway through the door, and it doesn't make a clang. And then you go to the other side of the door, and you do it again, and that puts you all the way through without any noise. So that's a bust for Supreme, I assume, because that's an engine exploit.
It is, but it would make the mission ghostable.
It would make the mission at least a lot more ghostable.
No,
I
it would
see.
make it
I
ghostable because it would be a last resort, and it would be okay to use quirks like that for the ghost mode.
I was just saying, yeah, because earlier you said it's ghostable, but it's really hard, I assume. Or you just haven't done it?
that wasn't. I wasn't aware of that method that you just explained.
Yeah.
So,
No, yeah, I recently, well, I say I found it, but another runner found it, and that
Okay.
was like the first thing he actually brought up, because a lot of people in speedrun still like to ghost actually,
Okay.
and that was like the first thing he said. He was like, "Wow, this makes Haunted Cathedral like actually ghostable now, or way more easy to ghost."
Yeah. No, it is possible to ghost if there's a spider that patrols
Yeah, I
that
think
bridge right there.
and he falls in.
Sometimes he falls into the water.
Yeah.
So if you I always refer to the spiders as a he. Everybody else calls it a she, so I don't know. But if that spider is dead when you come there because of drowning, then you can use that to get in there unalerted. But that's never happened when I've ghosted. I've had it happen once or twice other times.
Wouldn't that be considered a blind luck, as one of the
Yes,
rules in Ghost mode says that?
Yeah, it does, but it is repeatable. If it's something that can be repeated, then it's okay. Because sometimes there are things that happen that would be like one in a billion. Something that you can't repeat.
Mhm.
That wouldn't be allowed. But something like that, I've heard 3 or 4 other guys that have found the same thing happen.
Okay.
So then I guess it would be allowed. I guess I would allow it if it happened, just because it's such a difficult mission to ghost, and it would be sort of the luck would allow it there, I guess. But yeah, it would be questionable for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting that you have all those strict rules, but then there's so many things that are unclear.
Oh yeah.
And I always have to relate on the forums or the community, especially for the ghosting thing, like to be like, oh yeah, that's okay. Oh, luckily they allowed it. Like.
But that's mostly for fan missions, though. Those discussions come up, and it's mostly because new authors, certainly in New Dark, there's so many other things that are possible now with the engine.
Yeah,
that was never included in the original missions and never in early fan missions.
Yeah, they are set in stone, the original one.
Yeah, so nowadays there's so many new custom situations that occur that nobody's ever thought of, that nobody's sort of never discussed ghosting before. So then you have to go to the forums and put a discussion in and see what other people think.
So is there once in a while like a review of the official rules, or like they expand?
Yeah, there was. I think I mentioned the Moss Arrow revision that we did. Peter Smith and I did after I had played one of the Black Frog missions and put that on YouTube. I used a Moss Arrow to get into one of the temples, but that was a part of a puzzle where you had to use a Moss Arrow to push a button.
Yeah.
And Peter Smith is one of the creators or moderators at least of the original rules, and he said that really should be amended to the rules, because that's not what the rule meant, to prevent you solving puzzles. The point was to not use the moss to go through areas that were loud.
Yeah.
So we made a pretty simple amendment there that Next just read, that you could use certain arrows for puzzle elements but not other conventional methods.
But isn't that the same? Because the example I told you before, like stealing the thing and then a trap is triggered out of it's because it's necessary for the progress. And isn't it the same scenario? Like you have to use a moss arrow, which is basically not allowed, but to make progress in the game, in the story, whatever, you have to use it. So it's allowed. I don't get it.
But the original rule for the moss arrow was not a blanket statement. The original rule should have been that you can't use a moss arrow to deaden noise.
Okay.
That was the original purpose of the rule.
Okay, so
I don't think that the creators of the ghost mode ever thought about, well, what if you have to use a moss arrow to push a button?
Yeah.
Then you're technically using a moss arrow, but you're not using it, because you are making too much noise.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's
You
getting,
know, actually,
this is getting technical.
This
This
is
is
the
getting
total wrong topic for this early morning state.
yeah, you're like yawning here, and that's not a good sign.
Sitting here like, boy, damn it, boys. It's like a lecture in the morning, like school, you know? I'm learning so much here.
Yeah.
And I don't understand so much.
Is there any rules for like going out of bounds or something? I assume
That would be an engine exploit.
that would be engine exploit. Okay.
So that would be allowed as a last resort for Ghost, but for Supreme, no. There's no engine exploit
Okay.
that's allowed for Supreme, which is probably one of the reasons why I like Supreme better.
Because there's no like outs. Yeah.
But
there's no outs, and you don't break the immersion as easily.
But like drowning the spider you mentioned before, isn't that an engine exploit as well?
But
Indirectly caused.
Yeah, but you're not drowning it. You can't set up a scenario where
it's not like
you
you're
are
pushing
forcibly-
it in.
Yeah, you're not pushing it in there or causing it to cut a corner.
But you're doing things, you know, it's not meant to be in the, you know, but you do some things and.
But how do you
so
know
it
what's
happened.
meant?
How do you know it's not meant to be in the water? You know?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So let's take the same mission then, the haunted cathedral. Occasionally, the Burricks start fighting the zombies.
Yeah,
right. They
Mhm.
can end up fighting. They don't usually do, but they can. If the patrols are perfect and they see each other, the zombies can be lured over there, and then the other zombies hear it, and there's a huge clash. If that happens, it has nothing to do with you. It's a part of they're supposed to be close enough to maybe see each other. Then that spider could also be lured over there because it's pretty close to the Burricks. So if that happens, it would get killed. Nobody would ever say that that's a ghost bust or an engine exploit or anything like that.
Okay.
So those things can happen, but you can't make them happen. You can't set it up to make them die.
So it's just luck, as we said.
Yeah.
Okay.
So coincidence or luck.
Very interesting. Very very confusing as well. But no, because I just I really appreciated that you have all those rules back in your head, and it's a very really interesting way of playing it.
Yeah, another rule that we recently amended was the taking loot that emits light, because some loot items actually illuminate, and you're not allowed to remove any light sources for Supreme.
Yeah.
So are you allowed to take the loot and then also automatically remove that light source, even if you're not using that removal of light to sneak through an area?
I believe, in Death's Cold Embrace, there's like a golden candle.
There's plenty of them in that campaign, that's lit. Yeah, many of them are lit, so therefore, even if you're in a completely empty house and you take that has now been agreed upon is not allowed.
That was a great mission.
Yeah.
So is it like since like the ghosting style is well known now, that after a while mission creators that they adapted to this, that they try to make the mission ghostable? What is your experience with it?
Yes, they do, and that's not a good thing.
Okay.
That is because that usually makes the missions way easy, and
Right.
It's only like for people that are starting out ghosting that maybe would be challenging, but for anybody who's ghosted for a little bit, if a mission is made with ghosting in mind, it's usually pretty straightforward to ghost.
When I was making my fan mission, like one of the feedback I got was, "Oh, make this guard in the front hall turn around so I can ghost through here."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, but I didn't want, like, I wasn't designing with ghosting in mind. Like I didn't want to cater to that because I could understand, like, it's a challenge, and if there's no challenge to it, then like it's just like it's just an easy ghost. And
but to counterpoint that, a lot of the times, even if you don't change that fact, if it's too linear, it also creates no challenge, right? So I don't think anybody who's making levels should adhere to ghost rules, but just make the mission non-linear to such an extent that choices can be made, and people can choose their path. Some ghoster's going to find a way to get through that, but he's not going to find a way if there's only one lit corridor and the guard patrolling.
That's a thing of taste, that's as we said way at the beginning, like there are all those different ways of playing a thief mission. There's those different styles, and I think there's like Klatremus who really wants to have a challenge figuring out how to perfectly ghost this thing. No matter if it was designed with a ghost thing in mind or not. But then there are maybe others that are like, okay, I just want to ghost it. I don't want to be seen and stuff. But but still I want to, go straight. You know what I mean? And I think that's you can never, make everyone happy. I suppose.
No, I understand that, but since if we're talking about completely linear missions, those would be the extremes, right?
Yes, of course.
It could be only done by one.
I would say that what you just said is like the best way to handle it. Like, okay, I want to put that guard there, and I don't want him to make him turn around. So that's my intention because I'm the creator of the mission. But I give you some ways of maybe figuring out how to do it. I give you some space for creativity, as you said. I think that's the best way to do it. Other than, okay, someone is complaining, I can't ghost that with that guard, so please change that. No, not the creator has to change for you. You have to be creative how to handle it. And I think that's what Klatremus, what you do. Like, it's pretty interesting, like how you figure out things. Like carrying around crates, like like a moron, but you have a purpose for that, and then you figure out things.
So when you touch that, let's go to some of the biggest things. Maybe I haven't phrased it right, but let's say it's one of the few biggest things that the Supreme Ghosters have pulled off. And we touched on this earlier. One of the interesting parts which we joked about before on the podcast is the crate stacking and in Black Frog. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I assume you're talking about Mission 4, Lady and the Thief? Or is it the Mission 2 in Portrait?
Yeah.
There's 2 in that campaign.
The Mission 2.
Okay. Because I would almost say that the one in Mission 4 is worse, more tedious, but Mission 2, that mission cannot be Supreme Ghosted. But even still, I wanted to take a piece of loot that was in a side garden, pretty close to where you end the mission.
Yeah, where the body.
And there's only one entrance and an exit, at least conventional. There's one guard there, then he looks and sees you as you come into the conventional entrance. There's no way of avoiding that. But you can mantle up a wall at a different part of the property and then walk the perimeter of the wall and then drop down behind him in the garden. But then the problem is getting out, because you can't mantle up the wall again to get back out. So what I had to do, I had to bring crates over to the entrance where I couldn't pass, and I had to leave the crates there around the corner so that I could reach them from behind him. So that I could get the crates when I climbed the wall and walked along the perimeter, dropped behind the guard. I could reach those crates without him seeing me, and then remake the stack behind him.
Okay.
And then get up the wall and then drop down, but then I had to reach them again because I had to return all the crates. So the stack that I made had to be close enough to the corner. So there was just a couple of feet there where I couldn't be because he could see me, but it was close enough where I could reach the crates from both behind him and from front. And this wasn't a small stack. It was at least 5 or 6 crates. And when you stack the crates on top of each other, he hears it. So I had to put other objects between the crates. I had to put a crate and then a potion, and a crate and a potion, and then a crate and a scroll of something or something like that. And then I have to get all the way up.
Yeah.
So, and that took, I don't know how long that took, but it took a long time to record.
And you have to get all the crates and return all the crates under Supreme rules, which is
Yeah.
I just love that. And do you know the amount that you got by doing that?
There
The
was
amount of
nothing.
gold?
It was a statue or something worth 15 or 10 or 15. Oh, coins. Maybe it was coins.
It was coin. It's
Yeah.
65 in coins. Yeah.
There was a little fountain that you could dive down underneath and get some coins, which was completely unnecessary to meet the loot objective or anything, and the mission couldn't be Supreme Ghosted at all. So it was just to say that I could do it, basically, or to show people that I could do it.
You
I
just want to
yeah.
show off, right?
I love that part.
That is not the reason. It's for my own sanity. I don't feel like I haven't completed. No, I know, but I don't feel like I've completed the mission if I can't do that.
So guys, go check out that video. It's amazing. Besides that, for a lot of other reasons, I think that Black Frog mission 2 is a good example for somebody to check out Supreme Ghosting, because there are those trap things. Okay, we can quickly talk about that before going to another example.
Taking the actual portrait, you mean?
Taking the actual portrait, and so the security systems there is the electrified floor. There's the Watcher, and there's the gate. And I like the phrasing. You say in the video, the gate protecting the painting isn't really a security system.
No. That has been discussed in the forums. What is a security system and what is not? A security system is something that is electrical or some kind of protective device that is not a manual gate. I mean, a gate is just
A gate.
a door opening and closing. Yeah. So that doesn't count as a security system, but all the other things that you mentioned there do. The Watcher, the electrical floor, all that.
And then we have the Indiana Jones with the Breath of Karis, which is the thing that breaks the Supreme rules, but also another great example of what you can and cannot do in Supreme mode. So yeah, I would recommend anybody that's interested in Supreme Ghosting, go check out the video. Is there any other video that you would recommend the viewers to see if they wanted to start ghosting?
All of them.
If they want to start ghosting, I actually wouldn't recommend watching the portrait, because that would probably be so tedious that they would turn it down right away. Then I would probably do more traditional missions, like maybe Assassins or Bafford's Manor.
Bafford's Manor is a good one.
Yeah, so that people can see that it's possible. There's a few challenges, but it's more than possible to do.
I think the best way, to enter this topic is to take a well-known original mission and then see how you do it, because you have the mission in your mind and you know what to do and where to go, but now you see it from a totally different perspective.
Yeah. You're right.
I think that's the easiest way to get the idea of what it means, because if you take a fan mission that maybe the person hasn't played, they can compare it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, if you have like 1 minute 15 seconds, you watch Psychosis run on the mission, and then you have all of it.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Another interesting and slightly tedious thing that you do in Kalandra's Legacy Mission 1, in the crypts, where the skull is. I'd say that's the harder part of the crypt to Supreme Ghost, and it's the sneaking around the skull without triggering it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that I remember more being just frustrating than anything else, because I couldn't figure out really what the skull was reacting to.
Yeah,
because the skull doesn't behave like an actual enemy. For those of you that don't know, there's a skull that has 2 eyes that are worth loot.
It's a secret riddle passage.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing until that point, because it's really hard to figure out. Or
Yeah.
did you figure out what it is today?
No, I don't know what it is that triggers it. I just tried over and over again and waited. I think waiting a long time, passing it, and then waiting a long time so that if it's an enemy, I'm not even sure if it counts as an enemy. If it settles down to like the minimum state of alertness, then you can actually go up from behind it and actually reach in and get the loot.
Maybe let's invite Anthony
and ask him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I tried
You might know.
doing that same thing. I didn't go through all of it. I usually do it a little bit differently. I was when I was pulling it off, I was hoping that once I would take out his eyes, the skull would be dead. I don't know why I thought that, but it felt logical to me.
Does it?
Isn't the skull already dead?
It's it doesn't work that way. Even once you take everything from that room, the skull can still trigger. And so I just because I love that mission so much, and it's not a big mission. I don't even go into a police station to complete that mission.
I just killed the skull, by the way.
Yeah, I do too, but I do use an invisibility potion so he doesn't see me. But it's all the same as long as it's dead. But
No,
sorry, go on.
You wanted to say the police station?
No, I'm just saying that pretty much I pass a lot of that mission. Well, not a lot. I just pass the sewers and the police station. But I never pass that crypt because I think it's an optional part, but I feel like
it is. You don't even have to go there.
Actually, speaking of this thing, maybe we can just make the announcement next you don't do on the forums, so we make it here. Next was asking if if we should, my body is already working against the idea, but maybe Next was asking if we should go back to Calendar's Legacy and talk about it the usual way we do about a mission. So please, guys, tell us.
Since the episode with Pura was more of an interview with Pura than Calendar's Legacy, and it was nice of Supreme to say I asked instead of begged for it. But yeah,
sometimes I can be nice to you.
Just for reference, Klatremus, do you like or dislike Legacy?
Calendar's Legacy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the best fan missions I think that's ever been made.
Yeah, those guys don't like it. I'm the only one that. It's going to be a fun discussion.
First mission is great.
We have to admit we can appreciate it. But
I can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, just don't get us wrong. We're not like, the best mission ever is not the best mission ever.
Oh no! I mean, the people have different opinions about fan missions. That's what makes the forum so fun.
No, but the thing is that some people, put like because it's from the amazing Pura, it's you can't criticize it. Some people are like that. Like
first mission is great. The third mission is really great, and the second mission is terrible.
No, so I think the second mission is the best of the bunch.
I agree.
Yeah.
No.
But I think also that campaign though is good because of when it was released.
Of course.
It was groundbreaking.
Or 2000, yeah.
2000.
Yeah. And it still stands the test of time.
I think April 2002. I think
yeah.
It does exactly.
We will come later to what your favorite fan missions are, but let's just
despite that I want to talk for 2 hours right now about that mission. Let's move on to another thing, which this is a thing that I found out close to the time when I found that Supreme Ghosting exists, and I felt it's like an incredible achievement. I really appreciate the guy that did that. I don't remember the name. Maybe you can help me. But I'm talking about the Golden Boy skip in Life of the Party from Thief 2. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, that was Sneak that came up with that. Sneak is a long
What a
time
legend.
ghoster. Yeah, he was one of the founders of the Supreme Ghost mode, and he didn't ghost that much after I got into Supreme Ghosting, but I've had contact with him, and we've had some discussions about certain unique situations. That the one that you're referring to there is one. Another one is how to unhook the caboose in Kidnap. How to get there's is it Cavador you have to blackjack?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how to get him blackjacked without alerting the other two individuals in that party. That has a very unique way of doing it. And actually, there might be another way to do it supreme clean. That if I ever get to that mission, might be able to show you. And I also talked to Sneak about how to get the loot in shipping and receiving behind the banners in the boat without slashing the banners.
I see.
Yeah. But the Golden Boy in Life of the Party, you guys probably know, isn't it the Scripture of the Master Builder? When you read that,
When you read
he
it, he
appears.
spawns in. Yeah.
Yeah, he appears in the adjacent room. And the easy way is to drink an invisibility potion and just run out there. But in ghosting, if you take potions and ghost the mission, you have to call it a chemical success. It's a less honorable way of ghosting it. You have ghosted it, but it's called a chemical success. Because there's a lot of situations that's a lot easier if you just drink an invisibility potion. So you can get through that room without using that potion. And you have to place certain items in front of that Golden Boy so that he makes a move every 30 seconds or so where he stretches his arm forward. It's a part of his idle movement. And when he does that, he actually shifts a little bit forward, some pixels every time. And if you place boxes or crates right where he spawns inside the box. And then he ends up sliding forward through the boxes. And eventually he slides to the nearest window where he gets stuck on the window sill corner.
But isn't that an exploit?
Yeah, that's an exploit. This isn't Supremable, but this is for regular Ghost.
Okay.
And you have to place a hammer at a right angle in the windowsill so that he will fidget his way past that corner. And then he will continue to slide forward past you so that you can sneak out without him seeing you.
I'm so impressed how the people find that out. That's really like you have to spend so much time and be so creative with that. That's really impressive.
And Sneak is very articulate as well in how he explains that in his forum posts. So he has a long description on how he came up with that. And it's just fascinating, almost as fascinating to read as it is fascinating to play.
Okay.
So I place the boxes and I place the hammer. How long do I have to wait for the boy to fidget?
So this is the weird thing. What I usually do is before I read the scripture, I stand on the corner so that I can throw a scouting orb into behind the Golden Boy.
Okay.
Because you can throw the scouting orb and then move before the scouting orb takes command and you see what the scouting orb is seeing.
Okay.
So you can actually slide into safety while the scouting orb is in the air and before you actually see the camera. And then the strangest thing is that if your scouting orb isn't pointed towards the Golden Boy, he doesn't move at all. But if the camera is turned towards him, then he starts making the idle movement and he actually slides forward. So if you do that, I'm not sure if it takes that long. If you have the boxes properly placed, I think I use 4 or 5 boxes. I can actually look at my description of it here real quick. I think I used 4 or 5 boxes, and it doesn't take more than an hour or 2, I think, for him to go through those. I mean, I know that's long, but it's not really.
Oh,
Yeah.
easy.
When I heard about this for the first time, was it not like the first examples of this? Was it not like you had to wait like 8 hours or something?
Yeah, so when he gets through the boxes, he goes a lot slower. He moves faster through the boxes than he does beyond that. So the rest of the time takes a lot longer. I think the total is about 8 or 10 hours. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's when you just leave it on overnight, and then hopefully it's moved through past your position when you wake up.
I think I'd take a chemical success in that.
Yeah, so that's where the perfectionism comes in, right? Do you want that chemical success or do you want the success?
Well, you can instead of invisibility potion, maybe you can drink a sleeping potion.
That's true. That's a good point.
I love how you phrase it here. Enough to traverse the room in a manageable time frame.
I'm
If
looking
you
at
call
that
10
those
hours
exact
manageable.
words. Yeah.
It's a nice
Lovely.
way of putting it. What I was just asking myself, I'm still, figuring out the whole rule things. Like what Psychosis does in his speed runs. Like climbing on objects that are basically not for climbing. Like a potion, putting it somewhere and climb up. That is not allowed for you, or is it?
So like dropping a potion at your feet and using it as like
mantle it,
like mantling it like a box almost.
Yeah.
Oh, where
Item
the
stacking.
potion sort of hovers in the air without anything underneath it.
That's Thief 2. In Thief 1, they drop straight to the floor, and you can jump on top of it like an
like
item.
just making a stack with a potion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That you can do. Stacks are allowed.
I figured that.
So
but elevating.
For the realism, you are climbing a little bottle.
Yes.
Okay.
That's very realistic. I do that all the time.
I'm just sitting on one,
If a book is floating in water, can you mantle it?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes, you can.
A book floating in water first is a strange thing.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest with you.
We were when we were discussing Calendar's Legacy when we were preparing for it. I was doing a normal run with boats, and I found out that because certain edges are so far from the water that you can't even dolphin out of that. So I tried placing objects on the water because they would float if you put them in water, and they do become mantleable. Of course, you're gonna fall right through them once you try to mantle up because you're not centered on them. But if you jump at the same time, you can, or you're close enough to the edge, edge, whatever, you can mantle from there. So you get higher. Would that kind of thing be considered an exploit or not?
I don't think so. I don't think mantling of any object would be an exploit. When stacking items isn't an exploit, then I don't think mantling them would be. But it would be mantling them in thin air to elevator up to higher. That would certainly be an exploit.
Yeah, because it's you clip into them, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other such big pull-offs, let's say, for lack of a better word, that I forgot that you'd like to mention?
Well, the ones that I mentioned there from Thief 2 are pretty big. The Golden Boy, the loot and shipping and receiving, and the unhooking.
How is the unhooking done?
What's the unhooking?
Unhooking is in Kidnap. So that was also developed by Sneak, like I said.
So the thing there is that you have a guard in front, guard in the back, and the Cavador is in the middle, and you have to knock him out.
Yeah, the first guy, isn't that the guy that can't be gassed? No, Cavador can't be gassed. Anyway, you have to use.
As a German, I would say everyone can be gassed.
My goodness.
That's my humor.
Yeah.
There you have it.
I'll take my distance. So there is Cavador and the trio. They walk through all the different sites, right? And they get to a deep pit where there's some robots patrolling. There's a big robot that patrols up a ledge around a circling cave. And you have to get that robot stuck by placing boxes in front of him. And that enables the 3 patrollers to have a very, very narrow area where they walk through, where they will struggle to get through. But then when one gets through, the next one won't, kind of thing.
So that's how you separate them.
So you get a distance between them, yeah.
Interesting.
And then when Cavador is by himself, you can knock him out. And when you knock him out, the others stop, because they are reliant on Cavador patrolling for them to patrol. Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine how Sneak came onto that, but
how he came up with it, that's the weird thing. Yeah. So I definitely credit him, and I say I can't take any credit for this move in my report. And if I ever record it, I'll do the same.
All right.
But isn't it the same like in the speedrun community? Like everyone finds out something and then you know, puzzle it together?
Yeah, everyone
to perfect it?
Yeah. Everyone, like, someone finds something or points something out, and then we're like, oh, hey, let's look into that. And
some weird thing happens, and then somebody else uses that.
Yeah. And
isn't it the same, Klatremus, like in your community?
It is. But as long as I've been ghosting, there hasn't been that many ghosters really to have a community. There was in the very early days, 2000 to 2002, 3, and then recently, there's been more ghosters again starting the discussion.
Do you think that because you said that you started up the YouTube channel because you were wondering how you can maybe get people to ghost more?
I don't know if it's because of my website. I guess I would have to ask the other people that if they watch the videos.
Well, I'd say yes.
You did
it definitely encouraged me and guided me there.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm happy, because that was one of the reasons, like you said, that I started the channel. So that's great. So, but yes, it is a community effort sometimes if there were very tough missions. Yeah. And then you really feel like you're contributing to something together. So maybe all of them take credit for a move if multiple people chime in on the discussion. Yeah.
So since we're at the communities, you mentioned a few of these as well, but who are Clayman and Sneak, Peter Smith, Vanguard, and DFDD?
Defid, yeah.
Fit.
ORG.
So Clayman is probably the guy that is most responsible for the ghost mode to ever be made. I wasn't involved at all when that was happening, but he is the name that I see most often being credited the ghost mode or the ghost rules. Peter Smith also, and Sneak, the 3 of them I think is most to credit for the ghost rules even existing, but Sneak is most responsible for the Supreme mode as a separate rule set. Vanguard and Defid, I call him Defid, DAFYDD. They were ghosters that pumped out a lot of reports in the early days. Vanguard, I think, also goes by Hexamaran, is it? I think Hexamaran is also a username he used.
All right.
So those are just very important people to the community because they've made so many ghost reports.
Shout out to all of them.
Yeah.
And thank you, guys.
Yeah. They're still active?
Peter Smith, I've been in contact with pretty recently. He goes on a TTLG. He is Smith PD, but on the original IDOS forums, he was Peter Smith. So, but he's not that active anymore. But you can get in contact with him pretty easily. Sneak. Last time I was in contact with Sneak was probably in 8 to 10 years ago.
Okay.
And Vanguard, I think, is long gone. Same with the Fid, or maybe I've seen a post or two of him recently. And Clayman, no, I've never communicated with Clayman.
All right.
Yeah.
I have one thing that would interest me just for comparison, because when I watched your videos, especially in like the tutorial parts at the beginning, where they show like press this key, and I'm pretty sure that it reacts to what your key binding is, right? So if you have like one action on your individual key binding, I think it reacts to it to tell you, okay, use this key in the tutorial. But do you have a specific key binding? And then I would ask Psychosis as well, how does your key binding look? Like, or mapping? Is it binding or mapping, or is it the same?
Yeah, the same thing.
Both
either
work.
way. Yeah, either way. Yeah,
So-
my map is very different from the traditional, I think.
Yeah, so please
Um,
enlighten us.
Because I run forward with the right mouse,
Okay.
Okay.
and I
A
attack.
shocker right off the bat.
Bum, bum,
And I
bum.
attack with the left mouse.
That's normal.
Yeah,
But you never attack,
running
so-
with the right is not. And then I hold T, Y, and U with my ring,
So on
middle, and index finger.
So you have the US keyboard. We have to think of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you
so-
hold those 3 for?
T is strafe left, U
Okay.
is strafe right, and Y is backwards.
So Z on my keyboard.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then my pinky would then be on the F, which is crouch.
Okay.
And then-
I'm confused right now.
This is so old school.
So those are the 4 fingers I use on my left hand. And then my thumb is open to jump, which is space.
Yeah.
And I have the buttons around my 3 main fingers then are easy ways to get a hold of weapons. L, for example, is rope arrow. J is the map. 6 and 8 is actually clear inventory and clear weapon. Because many times I need to clear my weapon not to be seen quickly.
Mhm.
And 7 is lean forward. So that's pretty easy to find there. And then G is walk forward.
Oh, separate bind.
So that I can crouch with my pinky and press walk forward at the same time easily. If I want to really sneak up on somebody.
That's really
Wait.
confusing.
Yeah.
So we have run forward? Because how I have it, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like default. I would run by pressing shift modifier. And the normal walking forward would be, like
Same
W
here.
for me would be like just walking, not running.
Yeah, no, I don't have a button that I hold down for
See,
running.
yeah,
I just
I'm-
automatic run forward.
I'm the opposite. I don't even have walk bound.
No, I'm
just-
sure you
I
I wonder.
only have
I wonder.
No,
I'm
but
sure
like
you
even casually, I only have run bound
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm not worried about making noise. Like to me, it's getting to the end of the mission.
So then to go back to my dog owner analogy, you would then be the person that would be super efficient in everyday life, like do everything as fast as you could and never
Yeah,
walk
showering
anywhere, just run.
especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in 2 minutes. Yeah,
Um,
so
Forgetting that one.
that's my map pretty much, and then C is creep. I don't know if
Is
anybody
there-
uses creep.
Is there a reason why you chose? Because when I just look at my keyboard and I just try to imagine your key bindings, but then I was like, okay, but wouldn't like WASD work for you as well? Because there's
No, because then you don't have any buttons. You don't have many buttons to the left. So I wanted
Okay.
to have my key bindings in the middle of the keyboard so that I have as many buttons around my central use as possible,
Okay.
so that I could map individual items or weapons easily.
Okay.
So you're like Dr. Evil. You're very good with your pinky.
I guess so. I
So
don't use.
because-
I mean, that's the finger I get tired in easily because I hold it down all the time for crouching.
Yeah.
So if I have to hold that down and do a move over and over and over again, I start hurting.
Oh, you're not using toggle crouch?
No, I'm not. I don't like toggle crouch.
Wow.
Yeah. You haven't noticed that? Some of my videos, you can see that I don't use it. Because I don't if I save crouching, when I reload, I stand up suddenly.
Yeah.
But isn't that for everybody?
I thought
No,
that
if
was actually
I-
for everybody. That it,
No,
it
if you
automatically stands you.
toggle it and crouch and then save, when you reload again, you should stay crouched.
Maybe that's
Because I've used that a few
one
times.
thing, but I'm pretty sure in
yeah, you're
Thief
right.
1 it stood up.
It's probably in Thief 1. I'm not sure, but there are certainly some missions.
Maybe.
that
Oh.
forms.
Yeah, please do. Please. Because I had problems where if I crouched, I was in perfect darkness. If I stood up, I was lit up and could be alerted. And saving at that spot alerted me. And I remember just thinking, isn't that far? I'm pretty sure this was after New Dark too. And I'm always now saving standing up if possible.
Yeah. That's always a good rule. But I've just never been able to get used to toggle crouch.
Psycho, just quick. What is
Yeah,
your
I wanna
key
hear yours.
binding?
Okay, well, W run forward, A strafe left, D right, S back. X is my crouch on toggle.
Yeah, same.
Oh wow.
My tab is next inventory item. The squiggly button above it that's next to the one, I forget what it's called, is my previous item.
Tilde?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tilde, yeah.
Shift is clear inventory. I use mouse wheel for jumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yes, because
Huh.
well, it's just kind of ingrained in me because with speedrunning, right? Like you want to get the perfect bunny hops, so mouse wheel lets you get it like as soon as you land, pretty much.
I think we
So
have
you get
that
to-
explanation every second episode.
Yeah.
So what is the normal mouse wheel button? Like what is the mouse wheel normally?
Like clicking down on the mouse wheel, like you mean?
No,
No, I
rolling
think
the
it's
mouse
Oh,
wheel.
oh, rolling the mouse wheel. I think by default it cycles the weapons, right?
Yeah,
No, it's
that's what I have it. Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah.
No, it cycles the inventory, I think.
It does one or the other.
I think in the
Um,
original, it cycles the inventory.
Yeah, I don't. I just if I want a weapon, I just memorize the keybind for it. So I'll go all the way to 8 for the rope arrow.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, rope arrows I use so much that I just have that as a specific key.
I've debated putting it to 1 because I don't use the sword that much, and it would be easier to hit. But I'm just too used to 8. Like I could hit it with my thumb real quick.
Yeah.
And I memorized all the keybinds for like the potions for like F1, F3.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, and then the only thing like I changed purposely the binding of was the flash bombs. I put that to T.
Yeah.
is
See that I don't use any of those that would bust ghosts, so I would never ever want to get to the flash bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just named mine because I have a really different approach as well. I use the WASD and X as psychosis. And then I use the F1 and F2 for the lockpicks. And I use UR to drop things. And TG is my cycle inventory buttons. And
TG. Okay.
And B is clearing the inventory.
Okay. And my side mouse buttons are my quick save, quick load.
I don't like using my side mouse buttons.
Which is an issue because one time I was playing a mission and I went to quick save and I quick loaded about 20 minutes back. So I changed that back to what is it by default, like F12, I think.
Yeah.
Alt and S in Thief 2.
Yeah. Alt and S or whatever, Alt and L.
Alt and S and Alt and L.
And I think it's like F11 and F12 as well.
Yep, I think so. And I never knew that back in the days. I always had to save in the menu because I think it wasn't. I think it wasn't officially in the key binding.
It wasn't key binding
settings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know that it existed.
It's why, like, when we speedrun the original engine, we don't allow people to rebind that.
Okay.
Because it wasn't like it's not doable in the menu, so like we don't like
Oh.
the idea that they're editing the files or whatever.
It's an interesting topic, actually. The
Yeah,
key binding thing.
Yeah, open a can of worms if you do that. So yeah.
But back to you, Klatremus. Next. go on with your stuff. You have so much written down always. So
Okay,
let's get
so
so much.
there is a certain thing you mentioned a lot in your playthroughs. You probably explained it a couple of times, but for anybody that doesn't know or exactly doesn't know, what is because we all know there's a first alert, second alert, and third alert. But what is settling down of AIs?
Oh yeah, I sometimes refer to settling remarks, and that can be a little bit tricky to detect sometimes. So when somebody goes into a first alert, they say something, right? And then when they sort of convince themselves that it wasn't anything, then they give a second comment. Must have been rats, for example, is typical.
Yeah.
So that would be going from a first alert down to an unalerted state. So then they settle. They settle down, basically. Now there's no remark going from second alert, which is hunting for you, and going to first alert. All they're doing then is just returning to their post or start patrolling if they're patrolling. But then later on, they would then give that comment and settle down again to an unalerted state. So that's what it means to settle down.
And I believe if they go to a third stage, they're like for the rest of the playtime, they're like always heightened.
Yeah, if they ever see you and come chasing you, and then you run away from them and they lose you again, I don't think they ever go back to an unalerted state. They're always in a constant first alert.
Like all their senses go up, I think, or something. Yeah.
So they won't be giving those comments at that point. They would just go straight to hunting for you.
So
that's correct.
In your playthroughs, a lot of the times you're saying this is just settling down, and I am assuming that this settling down is settling from the alerts which are not caused by you. So can other creatures alert the guards?
Only if they're enemies of them.
Okay.
So if somebody gives a settling remark, that would indicate that they've already been alerted to a first alert, which would be a supreme bust.
Yeah. But if an enemy would alert the guards and then they would settle down, that does not bust, right?
No, that is true. That anything that doesn't have to do with me isn't a bust. It's only the actions that I cause.
So like the barracks and the zombies fighting each other on Haunted Cathedral, like after they settle down, it's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they occasionally first alert to each other.
Right.
That's pretty common to hear when you walk through that area. You can hear the grunts from the barracks or the whatever zombies, you want to call. Yeah, same thing there. But then they give a remark and settle, and usually I point that out in my videos just for the viewer not to think that it was me that alerted them. Yeah.
And I think another thing that can cause the guards of being alerted is that every time you start the mission, the objects in the mission get loaded, and then the gravity takes effect.
Yep.
And the objects are going to drop down, and this will sometimes cause the enemy to get alerted to that.
Yep, that's a common thing in old missions.
Yeah.
People didn't lock the if you go into drama, it's locking the rotation and location so that it doesn't like have gravity on it. Mm-hmm. So like even if it's like a minuscule amount above the ground, because like even though you hit the floor me button, which is like a keybind to floor it, it's stopped perfect, and it usually is like a little bit off the ground, and then it'll crash down like a crate, and it'll alert someone in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So that would not be a bust either then.
Yeah.
If that happened. Yeah. I don't think I've ever experienced that. But
usually, when it happens right at the start, and then by the time you're there, they're settled down. So it's like it's you don't see it yourself.
But the engine, to be honest, the engine doesn't count this later in the statistics as you alerted, right?
Well, I don't think there's any.
There are no statistics for alert levels. Yeah.
I think that's just dark mod and on.
Which is What I wanted to bring up eventually is I think I brought it up in the Supreme thread or the ghosting thread. Was there's been some work getting like a ghosting tool kind of going on.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bring it up as an exe. I was just saying that's how I was getting it done because that's the only way I know how to like hex edit right now. But
Okay.
but you could do it with the archives if I remember correctly. I think Jax64 pointed it out, who's the author of T2 Fix.
Yeah.
Which would on screen display, first alert, or second alert, and whatever. And I wanted to get your opinion. I think you already said it in there, but you could reiterate it in here on the podcast.
Yeah. So you're saying that there is, at least in theory, that it's possible to incorporate a message that tells you whether you've been alerted or not, or you have alerted somebody.
Yes.
I assume that is only when you alert somebody, not from anybody else.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's where you get into the difficulties. Like, how do you know whether it's you alerting them or somebody else alerting them? So, right. and for me, getting that kind of a message would take a little bit of the charm of ghosting away.
Right.
Because you're supposed to not be 100% sure. If you were a thief there, how would you know if somebody alerted to you or not? So you wouldn't be sure. So for a ghost run, you would reload just so you could be 100% sure that you didn't alert somebody. So I'm sure that it would speed up efficiency a lot to have that message shown, and it would be sort of black on white. I definitely did not get alerted.
Right. I imagined it more beneficial for like the barracks or like zombies, which you say like have like I remember watching your Haunted Cathedral video, like they have a lot of just idle sounds and you can't tell like a lot of the time if they get alerted or not, or if they're just like doing it as part of their their idle animations or whatever.
I know, because some enemies, and it depends which enemies, but some have the same things they say when they alert as they just say as the chatter that they always give when they're just walking around. Right. So it's very difficult to detect then if you've actually gotten alerted or not. So usually you have to wait for the settling remark. Because if you hear a few seconds later when they don't see you settle down, then you can say, okay, yeah, he definitely alerted to me. If he doesn't give any settling remark, then you know that it was just a part of the idle chatter. But that's difficult. That's why I don't like ghosting around too many those types of enemies. Fire elementals, for example, is horrible.
Right.
Yeah, they're impossible almost. And barracks are also not too easy.
Like I always like I it would definitely get me into ghosting because then I could kind of like see it like as a tangible like challenge.
Certainly.
And actually would kind of like bring up a statistic like, oh, I only got it to show up one time. Like you said earlier, like if we the challenge of like getting through with as little saves as possible, like that makes it more interesting to me.
Yes.
Because then it kind of adds like a leaderboard to it, and like
it certainly would be helpful for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't dismiss it totally. I'm just not saying that I probably wouldn't use it in my videos. But well, maybe I would use it in my videos, but not in my actual ones.
I was thinking like
then
in the videos,
then it would be open to everybody to see.
That way, no one can comment like, "No, you alerted him at 18:05."
But sometimes that's okay as well. Some people have actually said that they appreciate the fact that all the runs are not 100% perfect. Sometimes I make mistakes, and that's obviously I do. So,
all right. Satisfied with that.
Oh, great. So next, you have you had some problems with some things that you wanted to mention.
Okay, so let's go to my favorite part.
Problems.
So I would like to start with a certain premise, which is also included in the official Ghost rules. And if I could, I'd ask you, Klatremus, if you can read this out. I just posted it here in the chat. Make it easy for you.
Yeah,
but I think this is a good
hostage.
I think no one better.
Do you want me to read it? You're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, I would love
Okay.
that.
This thief is the absolute best there is. He is faceless. He could be anyone. No one has ever gotten a fingerprint, a footprint, not even a whiff of him. Even the keepers are oblivious to him. He carries out his work with meticulous detail, leaves no evidence at all that he was there. He has quite a large self-image, but cares nothing about gaining a reputation. In fact, he wants to remain anonymous. But at the same time, he enters a mission with a heightened sense of paranoia. Nothing can go wrong. He will settle for no error or slip-ups in his execution of the job. He is a paranoid perfectionist while working, nothing out of place or amiss when he is finished. Not even the illusion of a thought is in anyone's mind that he was there. He is also discriminating. Some missions he might not take because he might leave a trail, clue, or hint of something. People are wondering how these things happen or got stolen and who is doing it and how, but no one knows anything or has a clue. I believe that's Sneak's description, I think.
Thank you. And this is the description of the Supreme Thief.
Yeah,
And,
it's the head, the opening paragraph or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have a couple of problems with that. Just like you said somewhere in the podcast, that you had to take some time to convince yourself that these rules are the best rules, and now you can connect with other people. I have not completely achieved that for myself, and it's because of the following three reasons, right? So the first one, right? I think that the current rule set is very strict on the player, but the player can still stand in perfect darkness right in front of the guard, or even touch the guard when the guard is patrolling, and that is okay. So that's one. I don't like that one.
Like you mean that they can bump into you, walk into you, and still that's okay?
Yeah, and
Okay.
like and why I think that is because it ruins the immersion for me, and it feels too much like playing the game. Because of course, like the description says, they don't even get a whiff of him, and I doubt that sometimes, because the Supreme Thief is, in a lot of missions you'd be directly in front of the enemy. I don't want to go into realism too much, but I feel like that could be avoided, but not in the current rule set and how it works. So this is the first one.
Says Mr. Keyholing himself.
That's another thing that breaks it, but that would not be. Sorry.
So, do you want me to answer this one, or do you want to go through all three things you have?
Sure. If you have something to comment on that, go ahead.
No. I'll actually, if it's okay, just go through the three, and then I can. Maybe they're tied into each other a little bit.
Yeah. So then another problem is that, in the rules, it kind of says quirks of the Dark Engine that are not repeatable must be considered a blind luck. But since you already answered that, if you have two examples of that, then that is repeatable. So we're not, there's not a soft cap on the percentage that can be done. But sometimes you would perform like very hard sprints from complete darkness to complete darkness. And it takes you a couple of runs, right? And those kind of things. I feel like should be penalized in some way, because I'd say if you have to knock out a guard just to avoid doing that trial and error, which is, well, sometimes it's more trial and error, sometimes it's less. So yeah, that's what I have problem with, the low success rate attempts.
Yeah, so you're talking about situations where, I mean, at least for the last one, where you're almost forced to have to try it multiple times.
Yeah.
So then you would never be able to do this on the first try, for example.
Yeah.
So then a thief would never choose to do this because there's such a high risk. That makes sense. That breaks immersion a little bit. I agree with you there. That what breaks immersion the most is all the reloading. You can just go back to that as a principle. That's what is most tedious and what I dislike most about the Supreme rules. So I largely agree with you, actually, there.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear that.
If that's a problem you have, I agree with your principle. What was the first point you made?
The first point was that you can stand in perfect darkness.
And they can bump into, that's where I don't agree with you, because in my mind, Garrett is a superhero, almost. If you remember the initial briefing before you even start the first mission in Thief Gold, Garrett, as a young boy, said that he saw a keeper walk past the crowd, and he walked past them, and other people reacted as if he wasn't even there.
It's very hard to spot a keeper,
Yeah.
especially one that doesn't want to be seen.
So Garrett has those abilities too. That's also why I don't have a problem with what Psycho mentioned earlier, where you can stand in a dark doorway with light in front and behind, because Garrett doesn't use shadow the same way that other people do. He blends in with the environment. I almost think of Garrett almost like a chameleon, having that kind of abilities.
That's a very imaginative way of looking at Garrett, yeah.
So I'm not saying literally like that, but he has abilities like that. You know, not everybody could become Garrett or become a thief like Garrett. It's not just training.
This is where I would disagree, because
yes,
when you say superhero, I don't like. It almost feels like there's some quality in him, without action, that he just, like you said, chameleon. Chameleon would change his color and adapt. I always felt like I loved that they would put him up as a prodigy, or also almost like a magical being, because he can hide. But I always felt like it was his strategies and his actions.
He's like Batman. He's like Batman, because Batman doesn't have superpowers as well. He uses his gadgets.
Yeah, I think superhero probably is the wrong word to use. I don't think I've ever used that word actually on him before, and I take that a little bit back now. But I'm the principle is the same. I'm feeling that he has a talent.
Yeah, that's
that it's more of an extreme talent that other people simply don't have. It's genetic, or it's like a mastermind, but his is more blending in with the shadows.
I think that's what I said about the Calendra's Legacy movies. There's one scene where he goes on that long alleyway, shadows, and he's just that silhouette. And I think that was the perfect way I imagine Garrett looks in the real environment. Like, of course, we just see him in engine, or don't see him, but we imagine him like being in engine, like an object,
like a person.
Yeah. And I think I know where you're getting, and that's the way I imagine him as well. Like, and then I always consider, okay, this is the mid-age themed. People have a different imagination about things, and it's even darker if you look at a real light they had back in that day, just a torch, the light is not really much, and then after that it's really dark. So I think in that way Garrett could blend in way better than we can see it in the game. I think I got your point there.
I don't think I was very good at describing it at first, but hopefully people understand what I mean.
If you put it in perspective of all, maybe it's just us fans like making up for it, like, so it works in our minds.
We're justifying his actions here. That this is a game, but it's still real,
That's why I liked in the Thief 2014 game this mode, like where you just press I think it was space, and then he was rushing a bit in front. I think that's a cool move for Garrett. That maybe would give your idea a solid gameplay mechanic.
Why are you talking about that game, Supreme? Come on, please.
But I like because because I'm a nice guy, and no, because not everything was bad, but I think this move was actually that one thing that really made it more believable for me, because this move was missing in the original games. but I think they make sense for Garrett. You know,
Yeah, but they took away his jump as a result.
Yeah, no, I haven't played the game. I just saw some videos from it, and that was all.
yeah,
That
you
was
know.
all I needed. That was all I needed.
You're not missing much.
It was. I actually. It wasn't that bad. It had a lot of things that, you know, especially the rope arrow thing and stuff, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I'm sure it has some redeemable qualities to it, but point is that there's so many fan missions that I would spend more time on.
Of course.
Way before I would ever start that game.
Of course. But I think actually you can never recreate, or you can never, with modern engines and stuff, you will never satisfy an original fan because it's stuck to the original engine.
Yeah. No, the only way you would do that is if the original mission creators made another campaign in the old engine.
Yeah, I think even the original Looking Glass team with a modern engine, they could not deliver something that everyone's happy with.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but but back to it. That was my idea. I think you're right. Like, yeah, he is very talented and he has a specific way of moving in the shadows. And if you put that imagination into that, I think we get the idea of what maybe the idea of Looking Glass was about Garrett.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So let's go. I could say more about this, but we could talk for another hour just on that. So the third thing is that some crazy strategies are allowed or sometimes needed to perform a ghost. Let's, for example, like, oh, you didn't really achieve anything. Okay, I would like to phrase it differently, but for speed, you know, on the Black Frog, when you stack crates, you didn't get the ghost because of that. So I'm not going to talk about it. But for example, the Golden Boy, in Life of the Party, it's puzzling to me that, you know, you can do that. You can prolong your stay in that environment, right? You would increase the risk immensely, and just like the first point where we disagree, it feels too much like playing the game instead of you know, getting the full immersion.
No, I totally understand. I mean, you just have to then follow the rules, basically. That's when it becomes just a rule set.
Yeah.
You know, what rules are allowed, what are not allowed. And you're saying that you still haven't convinced yourself of the rules fully. So I didn't convince myself of the rules ever, I would say. I more accepted the rules, that there should be a rule set that should be accepted, that people should follow if they want to say that they have ghosted the mission. That's the only way that you can make something that is useful in the community. So I still to this I still to this day do not agree with all the rules. But I've played it for so long that I've accepted them, and it becomes almost second nature when I play. So I largely agree with most of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always tried to I've always wanted to propose a new ghost mode. Just so that I could outline my play and why I do it. But I think but I think there's a reason why the current rule set is in place, because there's also a reason why I could never present mine in an objective way, right? I mean, of course we talked about a little bit about dilemmas and you know, questions regarding a few rules, and sometimes you have to ask the forums and so on. But I would, if that's if we look at that as deterministic enough, I don't think I can come close with what I'm trying to do. But I always wish that, you know, the system would be like a point based instead of binary based, whereas you did it or you didn't do it.
Okay, that you would have a grade almost, like a percentage. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's possible to do.
Yeah. No, that's difficult.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, though. I think that if the community was around ghosting was bigger, and it was more fresh, and a lot more people would be engaged in it, that would maybe be possible. But I think the simpler the system is right now, the more chance there is of getting more people to ghost.
It's more
Definitely.
appealing,
Yeah. More appealing.
So, next, that have been your problems?
Yeah. Those other things, and well, I would say that just because how the rule set is done, and since it's binary, I do miss. This is not a problem for me, but I do miss this, and I'm sure Supremcee mentioned this a couple of times as one of our faults. Is that since because there's no point-based system, it's either you do it or you don't. You never have to. You never have to pick the lesser of two evils, right? So most of the times, if it's not specifically specified by the rule set that yes, you can use moss arrows to use for puzzle for solving puzzles, we pretty much eliminate use of tools in the game, which I think it could like if one had to pick from the lesser of two evils, he would have to just decide like I can do this, but this isn't allowed, so I can use invisibility potion there. It maybe creates a little bit more complexity, but and more chances. But yeah, it is.
But that's where stacking though becomes so fun, because then you can finally use items in Supreme, and it's actually allowed to do. That's why I get so engaged when I finally I can make a stack. Finally I can pick up something and use it. So that's when I maybe spend a little bit excessive amount of time on that, if I see a possibility of using that to deal with a problem.
I have noticed your love for crates.
Yeah, well, not just crates, but any kind of stack that is feasible to do and would serve a purpose. But back to your point about the binary, either you successfully ghost something or not. A lot of people are very caught up in whether you can or cannot ghost a mission. But I started out like that too. But nowadays, that almost has a negligible effect on me. To me, it's just a matter of, I can't ghost the mission. Okay, I can't ghost it. But what I do throughout my run is more important. Like how few ghosts can I possibly get it, or how few ghost busts can I possibly get it down to? Even if I know I can't ghost the mission, that doesn't mean I'm going to throw caution to the wind and like just go ahead on a busting spree and not care. If there's a small situation in a mission in one room, then I isolate that room. That's the challenge right there. And can I get through that room supreme clean? Then that's almost as good for me as ghosting the whole mission, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you have to take that approach to it. Otherwise, it won't be fun.
Yeah. I mean, the section that I enjoy the most about, because, well, as you said, you haven't done the videos. Like you've started the YouTube channels like 5-6 years ago. You've been making your notes on the website even before that. So for some time we had only that, and the most interesting part for me on your website is always the notes.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, because I started my website in 2003 or 4, I think. Something like that, yeah. Yeah. I
mean, because you would always say like, okay, so Supreme was busted because of this or this or this. Ghost was busted because of this or this. So in a way, it always felt like you were almost playing the point system.
Yeah. Okay.
As little.
That makes sense. So you sort of, if I had like 5 bullet points and took 5 busts, then you have sort of that's an indication for how difficult the mission is. If there's 1 bust, then the mission is a little bit easier. But if there's 5, maybe somebody can come along and reduce that to 4 or 3. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
wonder how many people actually have read the reports as closely as you have. Next, that's encouraging to see that somebody actually.
I know
Read-
Marble Man reads all the
Oh yeah, maybe he does.
thread
Yeah,
posts because
I don't
I would
think
say a
there's-
lot of
he's
people
very
do,
into
but
it.
they're all very thiefy about it.
yeah, that's cool.
maybe they're
Thank you.
ghosting the ghost thread. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
So
All right. That's all from my list.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
this is taking a while. It's been fun.
yeah,
I think this is the longest one yet.
I
Yeah,
should
it
say
is
before we leave though,
downwind
before we
of
leave,
the plane.
I should say that this is the first time that I ever verbally communicate with anybody that is a Thief fan.
Really?
Like I have, on the forums, through emails, through comments on videos, but I've never actually spoken to anybody, like through a phone or face to face or in a podcast forum that has been a fan of the game. I had friends growing up that thought the game was okay, but nobody that ever played fan missions or anything like that.
That actually was one of my intentions to do this, because I think, of course there were the interviews, which is all by text.
Yeah.
But I think like podcast and talking to the people behind specific things, missions or playstyles, is first more modern. I think today it's not necessary to read all the texts, and on the other hand, it's more personal. And today it's possible. Of course, like 15 years ago, you couldn't stream or record stuff like that and stream it on your smartphone. But I think that's the amazing technology advantage we have today. So we made it possible. And yeah, we had you as a great guest. I think this was a very, very interesting, very enlightening episode. I learned a lot today. And we thank you for your precious time. Thanks that you took so much of it. And this will be one for the ages.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
I might try to
enjoyed every minute.
I might try to sit down and ghost mission now, and write up a good report just for you.
Can you
Well,
stream
then,
it? I'd like to see that.
Stream it. I might record it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Stream it.
Let's do that.
I don't watch it today.
Oh wow! Thanks.
Well, if you do that, Psychosis, then I'll be happy.
Okay.
That's one more player converted.
That's the goal.
Yeah, one down. I don't know, a couple of
The
thousand.
rabbit
left.
becomes the turtle.
We fell for him.
Oh no!
You fell for my ploy.
Yeah, no, I can imagine like how
See,
the speedrun Discord is now getting angry. Like, oh, you guys!
But my whole channel is really just a ploy to get Psycho to start ghosting. That's the only reason.
It's made up years ago. You just Psychosis wasn't even born, but yeah, he's half your age.
There's when he made the site, he's like, there's a 5-year-old out there who's one day gonna play
Yeah.
thief, and I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, and of course, Klatremus was like, he's a superhero.
Of course.
Oh, man.
He's that
But
gifted
that's
child.
impressive, though, Psycho, that you have gotten into Thief this much when you. I'm not sure how old you are, but. Were you
24 now, yeah. When I first
14.
started playing,
Okay.
I was 18. Yeah, back in 2013.
Oh wow, that's
2012?
very
Yeah.
recent. Yeah.
It was
No.
just after New Dark started becoming like a thing.
Yeah, that came. Was that 2012? I think that came out.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
so we have lots of generations here. Like kids and the adults, and
40,
cool.
30, and 20. All of it here.
Yeah, the grandpas too. That's good.
Yeah, I think Anthony was the oldest so far.
50,
so,
yeah.
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 So, as I said, thanks for your precious time. That was amazing. It was a long, but there was a lot to discuss.
Yeah, thank you.
And at the forums, please tell us what you think if you had the time to listen to it. Klatremus, I wish you a wonderful night and a good Sunday. Psycho, I wish you a good night as well. And next, we start the day now, right?
Oh yeah, I'm straight into Thief right now.
Yeah, I think I would.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I have to cut the whole thing and yeah. And for all of you, the gas joke was not serious.
Of course not.
So, see you around, Teffers. Thanks, Klatremus, and
Yeah,
bye-bye.
thanks so much.
See you later, guys.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Well, I'd like to stay for the finale, but I've got a feeling it's time to move on.